Hokage, I can only use Xianju, Chapter-81-100. Chapter 81 _ just because you also want to dance. Arrogant guy, who are you and why are you here? Ao was the first to react and scolded, and Chenjiro also returned with a knife, and stayed in front of Terumi Mei with Ao. Feng Yao did not answer, but pulled over a stool and sat down, facing Terumi Mei. Terumi Mei also became serious. It is definitely not easy to be able to drive someone who will not cut it again, and she also wanted to know what purpose Feng Yao had. Feng Yao stared at Terumi Mei and said, I am here for you, the 5th generation Mizukage Terumi Mei. I came to the land of water for you this time. Clam. The serious and tense scene was suddenly broken by Feng Yao's words. Terumi Mei covered her face, her beautiful face flushed with shame at the moment. Ah. For me, what does this mean? Are you married? Others are also full of question marks. Lord Feng Yao, what does this mean? Could it be that you have taken a fancy to the water shadow of the 5 dynasties? He wants to be the man of Lord Shuiying. No, I have to protect Lord Shuiying, at least to prove whether he is qualified. What the hell is this man doing? Seeing everyone looking at him strangely, Feng Yao was a little puzzled. He didn't say anything wrong, he really came for Terumi Mei. If you are for this kind of thing, you shouldn't do it this way. We can find a time to discuss marriage. Oh no, find a time to discuss and formally get acquainted to see if it is suitable. Terumi Mei calmed down, and told Feng Yao with a very serious expression that she should find a suitable time. This time Feng Yao found out that the other party must have misunderstood something. He touched the mask and said helplessly, Did you misunderstand something? I just saw the strength of the 5th generation of water shadows, not a relationship between men and women. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief, but Terumi Mei immediately became depressed, and lowered her arms listlessly. Qing even couldn't help laughing, turned to Terumi Mei and smiled. I'll just say, how is that possible? Terumi Mei showed a dangerous smile, and held Ao's shoulder with one hand. If you talk nonsense, I will kill you. Feeling the strong murderous intent, Qing swallowed and stopped immediately. Looking at the face on the other side, who was talking and laughing, Feng Yao somehow felt that he was being ignored. Did he not care because he was confident in his strength? Feng Yao stood up and stretched out his right hand, making an invitation. Let me make it clearer. The 5th generation of water shadows, I want to invite you to join my organization, Xian, and start working for me from today. Terumi Mei put away the playful expression. Feng Yao's words did not seem to be fake, but when someone chooses to close their subordinates, will they choose to win over the shadow of other villages? This is not in line with common sense at all. Shadow is the highest rank among the many ninjas, the greatest ninja in the village. Leader of the village. There may be betrayal in the village, but there can never be a shadow of betrayal. Terumi Mei sighed. I am sorry, although your eyes are very attractive, you should be a handsome young man, but I am the Mizukage of Wuyin village. It is impossible to join you. If you leave now, I can be doing nothing has happened. I don't know if it was out of a favorable impression of Feng Yao. Terumi Mei didn't act the first time, but let Feng Yao leave. Don't be in such a hurry to refuse. You can step down from the position of the 5th generation of water shadows. It may be a good thing for you to join us. As a reward for your joining, I can promise you a condition. No matter what the condition is. Feng Yao emphasized the following words. It is risky to use external force to control, so this time Feng Yao intends to conquer the opponent with action. But after all, unlike Gaara, they are relatively young, and Terumi Mei did not immediately believe in Feng Yao. Nonsense. After all, she is 30 years old, and she is also a person who has experienced strong winds and waves. HMPH, he's still a big-mouthed little man, so let me try you out. Saying that, his hands began to form seals. Unlike ordinary ninjas, Terumi Mei has both wrong done and boiling done, 2 kinds of blood after the limit. Her mouth bulged high, and then spit out a large amount of acid, not lava. Lava is molten. The art of melting and melting monsters. These acids are viscous and highly corrosive, and can be used in a wide range. Terumi Mei's attack range completely blocked Keizea's retreat. Feng Yao looked at the acid in front of him and said to himself, this kind of ninjutsu doesn't even make me interested in having fun. The acid engulfed Feng Yao. Terumi Mei was stunned for a moment. Is the other party an ordinary person with little strength? Seeing that Feng Yao didn't resist, Qing didn't need to confirm with his eyes, and said with disdain, with such skills, you dare to trespass into the water shadow hall. It's best to die. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly flew out and was embedded in the wall, as did Changero, as if he was hit by something. The one who hit them was the Eye of the Reincarnation. No, it should be said to be the ability of the Eye of Feng Yao Samsara, round tomb border prison. Use the Tomb of Wheels to split your own shadow. You can use the shadow instead of the body to block the opponent's attack, or it can be used to surprise the opponent. The number of Madara shadows is 4, and after Feng Yao uses it, he finds that he can split 6 shadows. Feng Yao is estimated to be related to the mind and body of Xiaoyao, and the Tomb of Wheels border prison is stronger than Madara. Feng Yao, who used the shadow to help himself bear the damage, walked out of the acid solution unscathed, and said calmly to Qing, who was lying on the side, my ability is not what you can see with your white eyes, but you are still a perceptive ninja. Don't you even know if people are dead? Terumi Mei can't be careless now. She didn't expect Feng Yao to break her bloodline limit so easily. She decided to attack in a different way, first forcing the opponent out, jumping with her feet into the air, converting chakra into water and storing it in her throat. Water escape water dragon bomb. A water dragon opened its mouth and rushed forward, biting Feng Yao and knocking it out of the hall, knocking it into the open space several meters away. Feng Yao did not resist. It happened that this hall was difficult to perform. If he didn't kill everyone, he hurried out, and now asked Changero to pull himself out of the wall. The ninja guarding the water shadow hall saw a person being knocked out by a water dragon, and immediately came to watch, seeing whether the ninjas in the village were all cautious. Terumi Mei also followed him outside with a flash. Feng Yao's ability is unknown, and there are many Kurigakushi Jonin outside, so it is more certain that he can win Feng Yao. Qing and others also rushed out, and shouted at him from a distance, that guy is trying to be unruly with Mizuying-sama, hurry up and catch him. It may be a spy from another village. After hearing this, many Shangnin were all ready for battle. Feng Yao rolled his eyes, what is wrong? It seems that he has some strange intentions, and why do others always think that he is a spy? Boss Feng Yao, let's help you. He, this is really a big battle. Xianju was the first to jump to Feng Yao's side, turning on the state of Curse Xianju, and the others also stood silently. No way. If you don't kill that guy, he's actually with him. The guy with white hair and purple eyes looks familiar, a bit like a ghost lamp clan. Anyway, take them first. Everyone rushed up immediately, and Terumi Mei as Mizukage was naturally the first. She wants to use her second blood follower limit. Boiled escape, skillful mist technique. Terumi Mei spit out a boiling, high-temperature mist whose acidity can be freely adjusted. Its strength is more than that of dissolution, and it can vaporize objects. When it was spit out, the land in front of Feng Yao seemed to evaporate into a swamp. The people around them did not dare to move forward when they saw that they were standing there, and they directly launched an ninjutsu siege. Water escape water fang bomb. Ninfa lightning tornado. Water escape, water caramel binding rope. Feng Yao stopped Xianju who wanted to help and said with a smile, just because you guys want to dance along. I don't need to use the wheel tomb to resist this kind of ninjutsu. After he finished speaking, his eyes burst into flames, and he stretched out his right hand and pushed it forward. Shen Luo Tianzheng. A repulsive force was generated in front of Feng Yao, and whether it was fog, water bombs, lightning, or even people were all bounced off and scattered around. Boom. Everything within 50 meters in front was completely emptied by Feng Yao, which was the result of Feng Yao's intentional control. Chapter 82-Isota Mio. How is it possible? All the ninjutsu have been bounced off. What kind of trick is this? Even the boiling escape of Mizuying-sama. Everyone's faces were full of disbelief, and Qing even rolled his eyes to see if the other party took the opportunity to cast an illusion, but unfortunately it wasn't an illusion. Not only that, he also found that the chakra flowing through the opponent's meridian nerves and acupuncture points is extremely large, which is the largest amount of chakra among the people he has ever met. Xueyu thought at a glance, this move is very similar to the myriad self-shield seal that Feng Yao used, but it seems to be activated faster. At this time, Qing had to admit that the strength of the man on the opposite side was many times stronger than himself. He glared at Feng Yao with a livid face and said, "Don't panic, everyone. This kind of ninjutsu is absolutely impossible to be released at will without restrictions, and it is very consume chakra, everyone consumes him remotely." Next to him, Kurigaku Junin woke up and scattered, ready to attack from a distance. Feng Yao choked. "You really like to mislead your companions, because you are not a member of the Hyuga family, so the use of white eyes is just like that." Qing coldly snorted. He didn't believe that Feng Yao could use this bug-level ninjutsu without restriction. Although this is also a guess, it can stabilize the military's heart. Feng Yao didn't want to fight with the miscellaneous fish. If he accidentally killed them, it would be more troublesome to win over Terumi Mei. Thinking of this, he glanced at Terumi Mei who was beside him, and Feng Yao said softly, "Wanxiang Tianian." This can forcibly attract a specified object within a certain range, and can also manipulate the movement position of the affected object at will, and the controlled object cannot resist. Terumi Mei felt a huge suction force on the spot. She wanted to use chakra to fix herself, but unfortunately the suction force was several times stronger in just a few seconds. The whole person fell straight forward. Xueying-sama. Wu Yin next to him wanted to rescue, but all of them were thrown away by the shadow of the Tomb of the Wheel, and the people around were in a mess again, and they had no idea where the attack appeared. Feng Yao didn't want to take control of Mei Ming, but just sucked the other party in front of him and let her land steadily. Then Shang Terumi Mei spread out his hands and said, "I've tried it now, what do you think? When are you going to abdicate and join?" Feng Yao's tone was strong and directly discussed the matter of Terumi Mei's abdication. Terumi Mei laughed and said, "He's still a tough guy, so he doesn't appeal to girls. Although your strength is good, do you think we can't really take you down with so many people in Kurigakushi? If I give you an order, today I'm afraid it's impossible to leave." In the end, she uttered a cruel word. She didn't know if there was something wrong with the other party's brain. At such a time, she was still thinking of drawing herself into his organization. Even if she was strong, could she be worth a country? Xueyu said jokingly, "Just relying on a lot of people can't win our Feng Yao boss. As for staying, don't even think about it. This is something that even Ying can't do." "Okay, Xueyu." Feng Yao turned to stop Xueyu from continuing. Then he turned to Terumi Mei and said, "If I can't even subdue you, how can I talk about the entire ninja world? Tell me, how can I agree to my conditions?" The development of things seems to have exceeded Terumi Mei's expectations. The other party is actually serious to this level, and it is too exaggerated to say that the entire ninja world is too exaggerated. But for some reason it gave people a sense of convincing. She hesitated for a moment and still put forward a request to Feng Yao, a task that she thought was impossible. "Well, if you can subdue a beast, I can consider your terms." "This can't be done, Xueying-sama, how can you?" Nogjiro and Ao hurriedly dissuaded them, but Terumi Mei turned her head to stop them. She smiled and said, "If we can reconquer that guy, our strength will definitely increase a lot. Even if I'm gone, Wu Yin will still be prosperous, and if he can't finish it, then nothing will happen." Quote. Zaibujan and the others looked at the other side playing dumb puzzles, and they all expressed their doubts. Can you catch a beast with the ability of Wu Yin village? But Feng Yao has already guessed that there is only one beast that can make Sui Ying willing to agree to his conditions and is of great use to the village. Tailed beast. Iso Mio, the 7th-ranked 9-tailed beast. There was a time when the 4th generation of Mesuiying Godachibana Yakura was the human pillar of Mitsuya, and he was also the perfect human pillar. After Yakura got out of control, he died after some time, and Mitsuo also returned to nature and stayed in a lake somewhere. Set, Feng Yao does not know. How about you, do you want to agree to my request? Terumi Mei said provocatively, like a child who was competitive. Feng Yao's eyes skyrocketed, and he couldn't help raising his head and laughing 3 times. Why don't you dare? I hope you will keep your promise this time, otherwise the situation will be serious. Tell me the location. An hour later, Feng Yao opened Yellow Spring Hirazaka, and brought everyone to a huge lake with several small islands around. Terumi Mei and others were still amazed at the magic of this technique. This unnamed lake looks inconspicuous and lacks resources, but who would have thought that Isao Miyoshi was hiding in it? Terumi Mei, like Lu Kai, pointed to Lu Fengyao several times before finding it. According to Terumi Mei, Hiraguchi also tried to capture Mio Asada, but they all failed. Even if the fight was successful, the opponent dived into the river and all his efforts were in vain. Don't say I didn't warn you, this beast's abilities are very powerful. If you're scared, it's still too late to leave. Terumi Mei persuaded with a kind heart, as if she was really afraid of Feng Yao's accidental death. Feng Yao scolded inwardly, Remind me why not say it's 3 tails, what a beast. Putting this aside, Feng Yao's eyes were slightly focused, he turned to Shui Yu and said, Go in, help me find the beasts inside, drive them out, and leave the rest to me. For a hydrated water moon, it is still very easy to dive into the bottom of the water to find a big turtle with 3 tails. Leave it to me, boss, I promise to complete the task for you. After speaking, he was active for a while, and jumped directly. Feng Yao was not in a hurry, slowly waiting for the news of Shuiyu, and everyone also found a place to sit and rest. But obviously the 2 parties didn't trust them, so Qing and Chengjuro took Miyaj and sat down to rest a few dozen meters away. You don't have to. If I want to do it, do you think the distance will be a problem? It's hard for you to stop me. Looking at the defensive Chengjuro Feng Yao, he said the reality with a smile. Although Chengjiro's strength is good, he is called a genius like Suzuki. But in Feng Yao's eyes, Suzuki is now stronger than Chengjiro, even if there is no curse mark. Terumi Mei stopped Chojuro, who wanted to refute, and said to him gently, Don't listen to this, you have to believe in your own strength, agree with me and believe in you. Then she turned her head and said, Little man, although your strength is good, but it's not good to seriously hurt others at will. Feng Yao shrugged his shoulders. Okay, I'll just take this as a request from my future subordinates, and I won't say anything more. Terumi Mei snorted softly, thinking in her heart, We'll see how you deal with Sanwei later, killing you arrogant little man, but do you want to save him then? Terumi Mei didn't think that the other party could suppress Sanwei by one person, at least in her cognition, there was no such person. After a long time, an exclamation sounded, Help, boss Feng Yao, this thing is too weird, it's too strong, it almost swallowed me whole. Now Shuiyu is no longer as calm as before, she ran behind Feng Yao and grabbed his sleeve. He was still wet, still hydrated. Seeing Shuiyu, who was able to draw a tie with him, was so frightened by Bujin, he couldn't help but be more curious about the creatures in the river. He also said contemptuously at Shuiyu, What did you see? Don't you feel too embarrassed to master Feng Yao? Shuiyu continued to quibble, You see, you panic. At this time, the culprit had already appeared in the center of the lake. It is a huge tortoise with a gray shell, covered with thorns, 3 tails, and one eye seems to be invisible. The scarlet one-eyed stared at Feng Yao's back, raised his head and let out a roar, heading straight for Feng Yao. Chapter 83-. Feng Yao is still standing in the same place, and then Bi Yuzan has already waved his beheading sword, ready to do it at any time. The water and moon melt faster. Just when Sanwei was about to rush in front of Feng Yao, his huge body shook violently, and he could no longer move forward. Feng Yao slowly pushed out his right hand and whispered in his mouth, Shen Luo Tianzheng. Boom! The huge repulsive force ejected the 3 tails. Unlike before, Feng Yao is now full of firepower. Sanwei flew out for several thousand meters, and the seawater of the lake was lifted several meters high by Sanwei's extremely backward body. Qing and the others on the side were shocked. This move was clearly the one used to bounce ninjutsu at the beginning. I didn't expect it to have such a terrifying power, and I also understood that Feng Yao was indeed merciful at the beginning. I didn't expect this little man to have some ability, but Sanwei's ability is not that simple. Terumi Mei looked at Feng Yao wearing a mask. The opponent's strength is indeed comparable to the shadow level, but it is not so easy to conquer the three tails. But there is such a person in the ninja world, why is there no news? Feng Yao didn't know what Terumi Mei was thinking. He used the Vientian Tianian to control himself to float into the air and move to the front of Sanwei. Asada felt extremely angry when he saw the man who hurt him right in front of him. It shrank all over and turned into a sphere, only revealing the spikes and head on the back shell, like a sphere swirling towards Feng Yao. It was such a huge body, but it seemed flat on the water. Finally, he jumped high and smashed like Feng Yao. The huge body and Feng Yao's body were as disproportionate as the elephant and the ant. Qing saw this scene and even sneered. The impact of the three tails is not that simple. A short acceleration in the water will make its impact double, and the three tails are invincible in the water. Feng Yao opened his arms and shouted, Susanoo. Then cyan chakra appeared on the body, and a human-shaped skeleton was formed to wrap around him, and his defense was further improved, but there were still gaps on the soles of his feet. Feng Yao didn't stop. The skeleton was covered with meridians and flesh and blood, wrapped in coat-like chakra, and then the lower body and legs were created. At the same time, the volume also increased significantly, reaching hundreds of meters. Zoe's head. Susanoo stood directly on the water, holding the sword of Susanoo, and the Ta-Chi, in each hand. Sanwei's current body is about the same size as Susa, and they collided with each other, and the eardrums of Terumi Mei and the others, who were shocked by the sound of the sonic boom, bulged. Susanoo didn't move at all. Isota's head turned into a big lump instead. Susanoo's hardness was far beyond its imagination. It screamed back and didn't dare to approach easily. After observing for a while, Asada opened his mouth wide, and the blue-white red-tailed beast chakra condensed, forming a high-density black energy bullet in his mouth. Tailed beast jade. A high-density chakra shell can easily level a mountain. Appeared, tailed beast bullet. This guy is dead, but this thing killed my 6 Kunin in one blow. Qing was very excited when he saw the tailed beast jade. He didn't know whether it was because he saw the tailed beast jade or because the village had 6 dead Junin. In short, in his opinion, Feng Yao was dead. GTN tilted his head back slightly, opened his mouth and spit out the tailed beast jade, at a fast speed, and rushed in front of Feng Yao in a moment. Susanoo raised his arm, picked up the katana and slashed forward, and the high-density tailed beast jade was instantly cut in half. As the two sides dispersed, 2 huge mushroom clouds appeared. The lake was abruptly broken, like a frosted mirror, which was separated by people smoothly, and Susanoo's sword chi cut off the lake surface. GTN also widened its one eye, unable to believe that the blow he was proud of was so easily resolved, and was even more horrified at the power of this blow. Qing saw Sanwei's retreat, and it was useless to scold GTN in her heart, but it seemed that Feng Yao was already deeply fearful. This guy is too strong, how easy it is. No, really let him succeed. For such an enemy, Asada didn't want to continue fighting, so he began to dive. As long as he escaped into the water, the opponent couldn't do anything to him. Thinking like this, GT shook his head, and a fierce man plunged into the lake. 3 tails escaped. I can't believe it, but what are you going to do now, little man? Come over and admit defeat. Terumi Mei, who was a little worried at first, was delighted to see this scene, and thought that the other party would come over for a while and then take a good sarcasm. Looking at Sanwei who was about to disappear, Feng Yao smiled and said, "Oh. Do you want to run away now? Do you think I can't go into the water?" Feng Yao decided to use that move, just to shock Terumi Mei and others next to him. Feng Yao first exited the Blue Susan state. This Susanoo was almost Obito, and Feng Yao was going to use Madara's Susa. The next moment, the blue chakra circled around the body again, forming a double-sided Susano. Feng Yao and the two Susa formed 3 different seals at the same time, and summoned a huge meteorite from the sky. Heavenly shocks the stars. The meteorite with a diameter of easily more than 100 meters fell vertically from the sky, a huge shadow shrouded the lake, and everyone's breathing seemed to be stagnant. This is, what kind of power? When the meteorite falls, we will all die. Master Feng Yao, it's terrible. Everyone was deeply shocked by the scene in front of them. They didn't know what kind of power could compete with this kind of thing. Feng Yao was going to smash GTN directly. This technique really consumes chakra. Madara is in a state of reincarnation, so I have no scruples. Feng Yao thought silently in his heart. His chakra can be said to be comparable to a tailed beast, and he actually drained a third of it, but his recovery speed is also fast, so don't worry too much. He controlled gravity and dragged himself to the shore. Now everyone has not recovered from the shock, until Feng Yao shouted and woke up like a dream. The look in Feng Yao's eyes is no longer fear, but fear. This kind of power can easily destroy a village. Nogjiro immediately stood up and stood guard in front of Terumi Mei and said nervously, "You. What are you going to do to Mizukage-sama?" Seeing the trembling voice of Chenjuro Feng Yao, he smiled and said, "What do you mean? Do you want to die under the meteorite? I'll take you out of the meteorite's range." Tenshin Star is based on his own position, and even the caster is within the range of the meteorite. When Madara uses it, he has no scruples because he is reincarnated in the dirt. But it was not difficult to beat Feng Yao. A dark door of space was opened by Feng Yao. It was Wangquan Hirazaka. Feng Yao pulled Zaibujan and others to hide in the space and said, "If you don't want to die, just follow." Qing looked at the meteorite on his head and gritted his teeth. "Lord Shuiying, let's go in quickly, the meteorite is about to fall." Everyone entered the space, and Feng Yao took them to the midair thousands of meters away from here, allowing them to watch this shocking scene. The moment the huge meteorite touched the lake surface, the lake water seemed to be boiling, and the water waves were lifted up to a height of nearly 1,000 meters, and the meteorite was scattered all around. Even if the power of terror is far apart, one can feel one or two. Terumi Mei forced a calm voice and said, "Little man, although your move is very strong, I'm afraid it's hard to hurt that beast." Feng Yao glanced at Terumi Mei, dismantling her careful thoughts. "It's just a tailed beast with only 3 tails. I have countless ways to injure or even kill it. This meteorite is just for you to see. Don't think outside the box." Everyone in Wuyin was horrified, knowing that with the strength of the other party, they were indeed qualified to know this kind of thing. "It doesn't hurt. Then get another one." Said that a meteorite that was much larger than just now appeared again in the air, and it fell directly and shattered the first one. The entire lake surface and even the bottom of the water shook twice, and many fish corpses surfaced, all of which were hit by the meteorite. The huge force shook to death. Waiting for all the dust to settle, Feng Yao came to the lake, and there was no trace of the beauty when it came. It was all gravel and fish corpses all over the lake. GTN was leaning on the shore, with dark red blood on the corners of his mouth. Not badly injured. Feng Yao's right hand stretched out, and countless black rods were created and shot past, which was the embodiment of the power of Samsara Eye. The black stick can restrain the power of suppressing the tailed beast, or interfere with the chakra of others. As for the binding force on the tailed beast, it varies from person to person. Obito can use the black stick to suppress the complete 8-tailed and 9-tailed, and Feng Yao does not use it at all. Weaker than soil. Jita was stabbed by the black stick and wailed, and slowly lowered his head weakly. Feng Yao made a chain to bind Jita firmly, and dragged him to Terumi Mei with the Vientiane sky tinder. The majestic voice resounded through the sky. "Shuiying, I have fulfilled your request, now it's time for you to fulfill your promise." Chapter 84-Artifact Without Lethality. Chenjuro and others tacitly chose to remain silent. They can't really let their own water shadows join other organizations. If this happens, the country of water will become the laughing stock of the 5 major countries in the future. When Feng Yao saw that the other party was going to go back on his regret, his face immediately turned gloomy. Why, Wuyin village doesn't always want to make fun of me, so don't blame me for being rude. As he spoke, his eyes flashed, and a huge chakra erupted, oppressing everyone present. If it was Chengjuro and others before, they would definitely scolded and even taught this rude person a lesson, but seeing the strength of Feng Yao just now, they dared not have this idea. Feeling angry and helpless, Qing could only bite the bullet and say, "No, it's just that this matter still needs to be discussed. Why don't we leave the fog for a while, and then..." Boom. Before he could finish speaking, Qing was kicked out. There was no trace of the tomb of the wheel to be found. Qing flew out dozens of meters. Are you looking for death? Feng Yao's icy tone seemed to have dropped the temperature of the other air. In order to truly conquer the 5th generation of water shadows, Feng Yao has made concessions in Wuyin village again and again. If it is really so ignorant of praise, Feng Yao will go back to the mainland to grab Ji Shui's eyes and use other gods to control the water shadow. Of course, it is not the best solution. Wait a minute, Terumi Mei stopped Feng Yao, who wanted to continue. Mouth and said, "Since we have an appointment first, I won't break my promise, but it will take some time even if I abdicate. Why don't we go to the village with me first?" There was already a hint of pleading in Terumi Mei's tone. The strength of the other party could easily destroy the village. If she wanted to kill Ao and Chengjuro in front of her eyes, she really had nothing to do. Hearing this sentence, Feng Yao's expression softened slightly, and pretended to sigh. "Since my subordinates have said so, then I am giving in a step. This tailed beast is already yours, you can deal with it, and this take it well, you are already a member of my immortal." Feng Yao took out a ring with the word Chen written on it. This ring was originally intended for the Slug Fairy, and then the Xian organization expanded. Feng Yao felt that it was inconvenient for the psychic beasts, so he recruited the gang. And took the ring back. Now, wearing it on the index finger of her left hand for Terumi Mei, who received the ring for the first time in her life, seems to have forgotten the things around her. Immersed in my own imagination, rings, weddings, wedding dates. Now all 16 rings made by Feng Yao have been distributed, and these people will be the core strength of Xian in the future. After giving the ring to Terumi Mei, the voice of the system came again. "Host, your mission is too inadequate. You cut corners, Tsunade defected, Hideyoshi disappeared, Terumi Mei didn't fully surrender, and the foundation of the organization is unstable. Listening to the aftermath of the system dragging on, although I knew that the system was sarcastic, I could only smile bitterly. I don't want to, but it's better than the beginning. I'm taking some time to complete the task. Quote. No, your mission has been accomplished. Clam. This task only requires the host to collect enough people. It doesn't matter to this system whether they are traitors or not. Quote. They agreed to build the strongest organization, but this traitor doesn't care at all. But the system has started talking to itself. Congratulations to the host for completing the task, forming a terrorist organization entirely composed of elites, and rewarding 1 artifact and 1 chance to draw a lottery. Some of the completion of this task caught Feng Yao off guard, and he originally wanted to win over Terumi Mei to go back to find Tsunade. But now there is no rush at all. The task of subduing Terumi Mei has not been prompted to complete, which means that the other party has not completely surrendered to him. Putting the reward aside first, he glanced around and said solemnly, I won't give you too much time. The formalities of abdication can be done within a day. I will wait for you for a day, and I will come when the time comes. Pick you up, Terumi Mei, you can do whatever you want with this 3 tails. After speaking, he opened the portal and left without looking back. He was eager to check his reward, leaving only Mitsuha, Terumi Mei and others in a mess in the wind. Lord Mizuying, how do we get back? Shut up. Walking out of the door of space, Feng Yao returned to the room where Wuyin village was no longer cut. One day was not long, and Wuyin village couldn't make any tricks. He is now eager to study the artifact that the system gave him, as well as this precious lottery opportunity. In Feng Yao's mind, a touchy flashing blue and white light appeared in his mind. This is the artifact given by the system. Although I don't know what it does, this is the longest task I have ever spent in my history, and the system can't kill myself for a junk. He stretched out his right hand and summoned the sword out of his body. A blue-white light enveloped the room. Xianju covered her eyes exaggeratedly and screamed, "Wow, Feng Yao boss, your knife is too flashy, can you put out the light?" I don't know if the sword heard this. The light slowly faded, and I saw it clearly. It was a great sword with a white handle. But it wasn't Kusanagi, and Feng Yao couldn't recognize it for a while, feeling that there was nothing sharp to the place. But from this knife, I can really feel a hint of mysterious breath, but I can't say it specifically. If you don't understand, ask, Feng Yao called directly in his heart. System, what kind of artifact is this? You have to introduce me to the function. Let me see what treasure I have worked so hard for so long. This knife is also a kind of Japanese artifact, called Tianshengya, and it is also called the knife that does not kill. It's... Wait, what do you mean by not killing? Some kind of artifact? Feng Yao thought that he had heard it wrong and interrupted directly. The host misunderstood. It literally means that there is no lethality at all. Even if a person stands there and asks you to cut, you can't kill the other party. No lethality. No lethality. That's a fart. Feng Yao directly slammed Tianshengya to the ground, scolding in his heart. This is a fool. Do you know that I wake up earlier than chickens and sleep later than dogs during this year, and I am conscientious and conscientious. To complete the task without complaint, and get such a piece of shit. Zaibujan and the others on the side would definitely not be able to hear Feng Yao's conversation with the system. Seeing Feng Yao suddenly throwing the knife on the ground, he was full of question marks. He didn't see him for half a year. He couldn't understand the leader's mind. Host, please calm down. Tianshengya belongs to the Sword of Healing and the Sword of the Otherworld. It can be used to revive the dead by killing the messengers of the underworld. If it is activated with true compassion, a wave of the sword can save hundreds of lives, which means that saying that as long as someone dies, you can save them with a single knife. Quote. The system still told Feng Yao the function of this knife very intimately, but unfortunately, with the current Feng Yao, it is impossible to swipe hundreds of people with a single wave of the knife. Because Feng Yao does not have a heart of compassion, except for his own subordinates, he is cruel to others, and a word of discord will destroy others. Feng Yao's heart is full of depression. This is equivalent to the enhanced version of reincarnation born, but he doesn't need this method. He picked up the knife and tentatively swung it towards Zaibujan next to him. Master Feng Yao, you are... Under the shock, he wanted to dodge, but Feng Yao's moon-step speed was far better than his. After all, he slashed with a knife in his right hand, and the knife slashed, without any wounds, not even the clothes were cut in the slightest. The scene fell into silence. Xianju's eyes widened, and after a while, she couldn't help it anymore. PFF'd, ha 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 ha. Xianju covered her stomach and rolled on the ground laughing. Boss Feng Yao, you, ha ha ha, what kind of broken knife are you? I take a piece of iron, it's sharper than it, ha ha. Cough cough, you scared me to death, Lord Feng Yao. This knife is really not sharp. Enough, stop talking, I already know. Feng Yao put away the natural teeth at the fastest speed, and sat back on the chair with a force of calm. Chapter 85 _ The Divine Beast by Z. Ashamed. It doesn't matter, I still have a chance to draw a lottery. Feng Yao forcibly comforted himself, and at the same time ordered the system to give himself a lottery. Okay, I'm about to start extracting items from the world of the heavens for the host, please wait. Listening to the unhurried tone of the system, I really don't know that Chai Mi is expensive. This precious lottery has not been drawn for a long time. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the divine beast. Bai Zi, do you want to receive the reward? Bai Zi. Feng Yao frowned. This was one of the mythical beasts in China, and this can actually be drawn. Bai Zi can speak human words, is proficient in people's hearts, and is a symbol of auspiciousness, which is auspicious for people to turn evil into good luck. The beast. But will there really be that kind of ability in Naruto world? Feng Yao once again questioned the system's ability to do things. Host, please rest assured this time, Bai Zi definitely has shadow level strength, and this system guarantees your life, host. Bah, then I'm 80% dead. Just give it to me. No matter what the system said this time, Feng Yao also had to inspect the goods first. A cloud of smoke exploded, and one was about the size of Feng Yao, in the shape of a lion, with 2 horns on its head, a goatee, white hair, and blue wind stripes on its body. It looked a little timidly at everyone on the scene, and finally stared at Feng Yao before slowly opening his mouth. Lord, Master, I am, Bai Zi. Bai Zi Fu opened her sheep-like mouth and made a female voice, but she was still a female Bai Zi. Next to Zai Buzhen, Shui Yu and others were curiously surrounding him. Bai Zi knelt on the ground and hugged Bai Zi's neck. Wow tilde, what a soft fur, is this a psychic beast? It can talk tilde. Bai interacts with Bai Zi intimately, and there may be white characters. One person and one beast seem to be very compatible. Bai Zi is good at control and transformation, can use moves that can imprison multiple people, and is proficient in Lei Dun, and ordinary shadow level Lei Dun is no match for him, and this Bai Zi is still in his infancy, and he will still be in the future. There is some room for advancement. Quote. It's good to add a shadow level combat power, but now I can't sign a psychic contract with the other party in the Naruto world, and it seems a little inconvenient to bring it. Suddenly, Bai Zi's voice appeared in Feng Yao's head. Master, I can turn into a totem and imprint it on your body. Feng Yao was interested. He asked curiously in his mind, totem. How do you know what I'm thinking, and still talk to me? Bai Zi rubbed Feng Yao's trousers with his head to please. Actually, I can hear other people's voices, but I can only hear people who are weaker than me. I can hear the master's voice because I have a special relationship with the master. Feng Yao was enlightened. No wonder it is said that Bai Zi is a spiritual beast. Then Bai Zi gave a demonstration. It kissed Feng Yao's arm with his head, and the whole body suddenly turned into a white light. After a short period of dazzling, the pattern of Bai Zi appeared on Feng Yao's left arm, like a tattoo. Just when Feng Yao was very satisfied, suddenly there was a lazy voice of Shui Yu in his mind. Boss Feng Yao, so boring, when can I sleep? Then there were the voices of Zai Bi Yuzan and Shiro. Master Feng Yao is really becoming more and more mysterious. In this short moment, it is both a dog and a knife. That sheep is so cute. Why did it turn into a painting? Can it change back? But everyone clearly did not speak. Feng Yao opened his mouth in surprise, and Bai Zi's incarnation of a totem could actually inherit some of its abilities. Even including mastering Lei Dun, but Feng Yao found that he was still unable to use it, and the imprisonment of the system was absolute. Feng Yao touched Bai Zi's totem and said with emotion, at least it's more useful than a certain knife, and a year is not wasted. After that, Feng Yao dismissed everyone to rest. The time soon came to the next day. Feng Yao first sent the others back to Yinyan village and came alone. Feng Yao stood out of thin air, his eyes swept across the water shadow hull below, as if a strong wind blew, the whole person disappeared in place. Inside the shadow hull. That's it. Absolutely not. How can you turn your back on the name of Suiying because of a gambling contract? This is simply nonsense. Although the other party did catch Sanwei's meritorious deeds, it's just a reward at most. How can you join some immortal organization? The elder heard Terumi Mei's words and immediately rejected the case. At this time, Qing stood up instead. Although he hated Feng Yao very much, he knew that the opponent's strength was terrible, and he didn't want his village to suffer a great disaster. With all due respect, the strength of the other party is too terrifying. If we don't agree, we may suffer disaster. Even if Mizuying-sama does not abdicate, we must give the other party huge benefits. HMPH, a joke, this is the country of water. What skills does an outsider have? And being able to capture three tails does not mean that he can deal with ninjas. Yes, then we can set up a barrier to surround and kill each other. The news of the three tails is a top secret. If other countries know that we have wild-tailed beasts, they are bound to snatch them. This person can't be kept. You and I have made Feng Yao clear in your words and my words, and Qing is secretly anxious. These old guys usually don't leave the village at all, and they don't know how big the outside world is. They only know how big the world is. Shameless here. Terumi Mei secretly felt heartache when she saw the scene in front of her, and Kurikan's sense of crisis was already so weak. Everyone, this time is different from the past. My request has been completed for me, so I also need to abide by the agreement. I decided to step down as number 1 the position of the 5 generations of water shadows. Quote. The eldest Yuan, she said again. I, Wu Ying, never owe anyone anything, and the bet is the same. Since Shui Ying loses, he should keep his promise. There was an uproar, and even if Master Yuan and his old man spoke, many people still criticized him. But with the support of Yuan Shi, Terumi Mei also reduced some pressure. She took out the water shadow hat to signal her attitude, and she was ready to abdicate. The door of space opened from the hall. Feng Yao came out. He looked at Master Yuan and smiled faintly. It seems that there are still a few smart people in Wuyin. You are very good, old man. Everyone saw that someone broke into the water shadow hall, and everyone was like a big enemy. After hearing Qing and others' explanations, they learned Feng Yao's identity, and many people looked at Feng Yao with slightly hostile eyes. Some older people said with a high tone, although your excellency has an appointment with me, Shui Ying, but after all, this matter is very important, and it is not her junior who can make the decision, so we hope you change your request. Feng Yao's face was expressionless, and the voice of the other party echoed in his mind. It's just a yellow-mouthed child, the water shadow is too exaggerated, and the person who captures Sanwei must be seriously injured. If you don't agree to another condition, find Anbu waiting for an opportunity to get rid of it. At that time, if you beg for mercy, you can plant a spell and do things for my Wuyin village. Qing hurriedly said, that, consultant, don't do this kind of thing. Al was in a cold sweat listening to it. He had not forgotten the half-death that he was beaten by Feng Yao because of his random speech, but these people are used to being in high positions in Wuyin village, even if Terumi Mei said in advance that Feng Yao is an enemy. He still doesn't care about the strength of a country. In his opinion, Terumi Mei is nothing more than exaggeration. Why should Korean village bow his head like a person? On the scene, Feng Yao also heard the voices of opposition from many people, and he glanced at everyone. I don't know if anyone else has the same opinion as this old man. You can put it up together. Several Junin from Wuyin village followed suit, and Qing'an let out a bad sound. Feng Yaoyu's blue eyes flickered slightly. Round grave. Sure enough, at the next moment, all the people who spoke against were held down by the shadow of the wheel tomb and slammed into the table. Boom, boom, boom. The table was directly smashed by this terrifying force, and several people were suddenly bleeding, and sawdust mixed with blood flowed on the ground. Life and death were unknown. No one saw how Feng Yao made his move just now. Everyone habitually took a step back and looked at Feng Yao defensively. A big man wearing a forehead shouted, "What are you doing? Is there any need to ask? I started fighting." Feng Yao felt that the other party was a fool. The surface, he pretended to be puzzled and said, "I don't know either. Maybe they feel ashamed in their hearts, and maybe they knocked on the table by themselves. Why are you yelling at me? Don't you feel ashamed in your heart?" Feng Yao manipulated the tomb of the wheel, and punched the Jinan out of the water shadow hall with another punch. Terumi Mei stopped Ao and Chengjiro, who wanted to step forward, and if he angered Feng Yao, he didn't know what would happen. Looking at the perfect parabola Feng Yao sighed, "It seems that you are also ashamed." Then suddenly, the tone changed and it became extremely cold. Who else will object next? Chapter 86-Conquer Terumi Mei. Akatsuki's actions. The scene was suddenly silent, and the big man just now was already a rare elite Junin in Korean. Even he was defeated in a face-to-face, so the others went up just to make fun of themselves. Although they didn't speak, Feng Yao still knew what they were thinking. This guy, too arrogant, why didn't Mizuying-sama stop him? If you open your mouth, I'm afraid it will be like this. If the other party really has the ability to destroy a country. If Mizuying is gone, I can still be elected again, and Master Mizuying voluntarily resigned, why should I ask for trouble? Everyone's thoughts came like a tide, and everyone's thoughts were controlled by Feng Yao. Most of the people on the scene no longer had the sense of struggle, and almost all of them were the so-called high-level leaders of Wuyin. They have long been lost in power, forgetting their duty as a ninja, and they will only talk to the people below to do things. When everyone succumbed to Feng Yao's means and did not dare to speak, the elder Yuanqi showed grief and anger on his face. He understood, Wu Yin. It is finally declining. When someone knocked on the door, no one dared to make a sound. Master Yuan stood up tremblingly, and the thin body seemed to fall down when the wind blew. But his face still showed a firm look and said, Your Excellency has an appointment with my village Shuiying-sama. I should not say anything, just hurt people in my Shuiying Hall, which has violated my bottom line of wooing. You must apologize. My apologies. I am not someone who can be bullied at will. He said that he was very emotional at the end. He knew that the opponent was really strong, and it could be said that Master Yuan believed in it from the very beginning. Shuiying and Feng Yao had an agreement. They helped the village to capture the three tails. Although they were used to exchange for Shuiying, Wuyin village would definitely suffer. But as a big country, it should keep its promises, but just now a group of people evaded and prevaricates for various reasons, saying more than anyone else. Now that the other party injured Korean's ninja in front of everyone, they should have fought together against the enemy, but no one dared to speak out again except for an elite Junin. This is the servile nature of human beings, succumbing to the desire to survive, so he is willing to abandon a lot of things. Master Yuan has already planned to die in battle. He wants to anger Feng Yao, and he wants Feng Yao to kill himself on the spot. His identities are different, as the elder of Wuyin village is equal to the same existence as Shuiying. If Feng Yao kills him, he will definitely arouse the excitement of the crowd. Master Yuan is ready to use his death to wake up the backbone of everyone in Wuyin village. Feng Yao slowly stretched out his right hand. Terumi Mei and the others thought that Feng Yao wanted to do something. They were shocked and hurriedly shouted, Don't hurt the elders. In the end, Feng Yao just patted Master Yuan on the shoulder. The old man is right, Wuyin is definitely not someone who can be bullied at will. But in fact, this matter has nothing to do with me, but it hurts my heart to see them like this. Why don't I send them to a hospital with the best medical conditions? I have covered the hospitalization expenses, what do you think? This. Looking at the two people who were completely different from the one just now, Master Yuan was like a bulging balloon, which originally exploded, but was opened by Feng Yao and let out the gas. Master Yuan sighed deeply. He has given up. The gap between the enemy and me is too great. Whether it is strength or temperament, the opponent is many times better than himself. He sat on the chair decadently, and seemed to be a little older. Needless to say about the other Kurigakushi ninjas, Feng Yao directly opened Yungchong Hirazaka, and pulled Terumi Mei away. Wait, can I continue to follow you? Mizukage-sama, Chojuro asked as soon as Terumi Mei was about to leave. No, Chojuro, stay here, dear boy. You will have a better future in Kurigakushi. Promise me to protect the village. Terumi Mei's gentle voice echoed in Chengjiro's ears, and they had already left. This time, the destination of Wangquan Hirazaka is the sound hidden village, and Feng Yao and Terumi Mei walked out together. How long do you want to hold my hand, Tilda? Terumi Mei suddenly said. When the two just left, Feng Yao kept pulling Terumi Mei, mainly wanting to take her away as soon as possible, otherwise it would be more troublesome to say goodbye. Feng Yao coughed twice and let go of his hand. Terumi Mei was also able to look around. She agreed to Feng Yao's request and had another purpose, which was to spy on this organization, just like Itachi, guarding her village in secret where she didn't see it. Feng Yao didn't know this, because Baizi's strength was not as good as Terumi Mei, and he couldn't hear the other party's heart, nor did he know the other party's thoughts. Feng Yao walked to Terumi Mei and formally introduced. Our organization, Xian, has a total of 16 core members, including the Bai and Zaibuxian you have seen. They are my first subordinates, and this is the country of fire. A small country on the border is also our stronghold, and my name is Feng Yao. He even took off his mask, so he couldn't let his subordinates know who he was and what he looked like. This is also a kind of trust Feng Yao has in his subordinates. Just the moment she took off the mask, Terumi Mei was stunned. She never thought that there would be such a handsome person in the world. So, congratulations to the host for completing the mission, conquering Terumi Mei. What the hell? This time, even Feng Yao was stunned. He had known that he could get it done by taking off his mask. Why waste so much effort? Unexpectedly, even the 5 generations of Shuiying adults are in control of their appearance, and Feng Yao put on the mask again silently. Congratulations to the host for getting the reward, a floating city. It seems a bit novel to listen to. It was the first time I heard the system give this kind of reward. When Feng Yao understood it, he found out that this is the real good thing. The camera is pulled towards Union Village. A couple of men and women were walking through the woods. One of them had long beige-brown straight hair, braided around the waist, a pair of big eyes, a proud expression, a queenly temperament, and a cloud yin forehead on his head. There was also a man next to him. He had a sword on his back, and his skin was a little dark. The most eye-catching thing was that he wore Union Rebellion's forehead guard on his head. It's hard to imagine why these two people with completely different identities are together. Wooden man, run slowly, I can't catch up with you. Be careful that I don't marry you. Hearing this, the teak man completely ignored it and turned his head, as if playing a petty temper. Then don't marry me. I don't want to marry a man who can't keep up with me. The man caught the teak man's speech problem and laughed loudly. So if I catch up with you, you will marry me, Yubu, the Road of Thorns. The man in the back instantly surpassed the teak man. The teak man knew that the other party was trying to trick himself, and immediately blushed. You stinky bastard, stop for me. The two chased after each other, and finally lay on the grass together, looking at each other with love in their eyes. But the voice of an uninvited guest interrupted the sweetness of the two. It's really a mutual love, doesn't it mean that Ren Zuli is generally a dark personality? It seems to be a little different. Well, it doesn't matter, but the one next to him is Renren, right? I don't know if there is a bounty. The two teak people immediately stood up and listened to each other's tone. I am afraid that these two people are not good. Author's digression. Hello everyone. The latest update time may be slightly different. In fact, the reason is that I have been preparing for the test these days. Some people told me that the author's update has been slow these days. No, seeing so many people chasing my book and commenting below, every time I see it, I am full of motivation. I free up most of the time I have to write novels, and keep an updated amount for everyone. Please rest assured, when I have time to spare, I will post 4 and give everyone an update. Chapter 87 _ Fight the Undead Duo. There are two people on the other side, one with a big gray back, lavender eyes, a forehead guard that is worn around the neck like Hinata, and a necklace from the heretic god sect, with rich expressions, mostly hideous expressions. Xiao organizes clothing. The other one, wearing a black mask, dark green eyes, and a forehead like a triangle. If you look carefully, there will be traces of black lines stitching on your hands, and agrees that he is also a Xiao person. In Xiao, there is a duo known as the Undead, Feijuan and Jiaodu. Since the arrival of Feng Yao accelerated the actions of the Xiao organization, the order the duo received was to arrest her way. Feijuan waved the bloody march sickle, and a foul smell emanated from the sickle, which was caused by long-term blood stains. He pointed the Sanusai at the teak man with a hideous smile and said, "Thank you, Lord Evil God, you will die by my hands." HMPH, don't forget, you have to live, this is the order from above. Xianju interrupted Feijuan mercilessly, and there was a hint of caution in his eyes. After all, unlike Feijuan's arrogance and madness, Xianju can live so long and is naturally good at thinking. He can see that the man next to him is not simple, and he has no information on the other side. Stop talking nonsense, I'll go first. After diving over, his ability must be able to obtain the blood of the opponent, because he is the slowest in the Shao organization, and there is no long-range attack ninjutsu. The March sickle slashed at the teak man with a fishy wind, a figure blocked in front of the teak man, flashing lightning all over his body, and directly grabbed Feijuan's weapon with his bare hands. It is the man who has been with the teak people all the time, and also Hideyoshi Yuchai who Fengyao has been unable to find. The subordinate that, Xian, gathered at the beginning, code-named Su, he did not know what happened after he left Wuyin village, and he hooked up with him. The two-tailed man Zuli in Union village. The woman who wants to touch me, I think you are tired of living. Hideyoshi's face was gloomy, and the breath on his body continued to rise. Since he left Fengyao, he has been concentrating on studying the 6 styles that Fengyao passed on to him, and he will endure it. Combining both physical arts and 6 styles, the strength soared rapidly. Hideyoshi grabbed the March sickle, stepped on both feet, the ground cracked every inch, and directly lifted Feijuan's body, spinning at a high speed like a windmill. Feijuan suppressed the feeling of vomiting and cursed angrily, "Ah! You bastard, hurry up and let me go." As soon as these words were finished, Hideyoshi let go, and Feijuan's body turned into a red light and flew towards Xianju. As if he was afraid that Feijuan would injure himself, Xianju took a few steps back, and Feijuan smashed a bullet out of the ground. Decaying, if ordinary people are thrown like this, they will be half crippled even if they don't die. It hurts. You bastard, I'm going to tear you apart, kill you. Kill you. Although the entire shoulder bone has been shattered, Feijuan's voice still sounded full of anger. Hideyoshi was a little surprised when he saw it. Just now, he had activated his body with chakra, and also used an iron block. Gee, these two people are not easy, let's do it together, I don't want to be protected by you alone. A hand clapped on Hideyoshi's shoulder, looking back at the strong eyes of the teak man. Hideyoshi's eyes softened and he nodded lightly. Hey, did you hear what I said, bastard, you still dare to be gentle with me at this time? Feijuan spat out a mouthful of blood, and said with a displeased expression. As soon as the words fell, Hideyoshi's figure appeared in front of Feijuan's eyes, and this speed was probably comparable to Fei Lei Shen. So fast, the corners on the side were wide-eyed, and he didn't even have time to move his fingers. Don't bother me when I'm talking to my woman. The iron nugget and the fangs are bursting. Lightning flashes everywhere, and cracks flash. Boom. Suddenly, there was another loud noise, and the entire right shoulder of the flying section was blown away by the strong impact, and the large piece of flesh and blood flew away, flying backwards for hundreds of meters without knowing whether to live or die. The corners on the side were not worried at all when they saw this scene, but instead laughed. It's really good, I wanted to teach him a lesson for a long time. If a guy like you is raised, the future bounty will definitely easily exceed 5,000. 2002. Then it depends on your ability. The person who can get my bounty is probably not born yet. Humph, then let's try it. Xianju directly entered the mode of resentment, and Hideyoshi's strength far exceeded the imagination of the undead duo. This time, Xianju was the ultimate move as soon as he came up. He took off his clothes. There were many traces of black thread stitching on his body, and there were 4 masks of different colors behind him. These 4 masks could use different attributes, and each mask represented a heart. Then the corners branched out 8 giant black lines from their mouths, arms, etc., where they were connected. In this state, the corners look a little scary. Xianju took the lead, and as his hands formed seals, the fire and wind masks rode on Xiaodu's shoulders. Composite Ninja, Fire Wind Turbulence. The 2 masks simultaneously used fire escape headhunting and wind escape pressure to create a sea of fire with a huge range, and Hideyoshi's skin was aching faintly. A blue cat demon pattern chakra appears on the surface of the teak man's body, his hair is upturned, and his eyes turn white. This is the chakra borrowed from the tailed beast. Under this condition, the teak man's various abilities will increase. At the same time, the tailed beast chakra will heal the wounds of the ninja, leaving almost no scars, and the fighting ability is extremely strong. Fire Rat Jade. Land on Magic Yao. Boom, boom. The huge roar was incessant, and it was difficult for even the horns to fight against one another, and soon fell into a disadvantage. Legendary Heavy Step Wolf. Hideyoshi saw the opportunity and stabbed in front of Kakato, his arm pierced through Kakato's heart, pierced out from behind, and warm blood stained Hideyoshi's right hand. Zhao Du's face seemed to be unbelievable, a look of pain solidified, his eyes closed, and he passed out on the spot. Huh, it's finally resolved. I didn't expect this guy to be able to use several kinds of chakra insane changes. How about the wooden man, is he more and more satisfied with your man Tilda? Hideyoshi also had some scratches and black marks on his body. He turned his head and joked at the teak man not far away. The teak man rolled his eyes and retreated from the state of borrowing chakra. Just when they let down their guard, a scythe was like a teak man in Zifei, and a rope was tied behind the scythe, which was thrown by someone. Feijuan is not dead. Wooden beware. Hideyoshi reacted immediately. After all, he activated his body and was extremely fast, and he came to the teak man just before the sickle arrived. Very good, it's too late. It seems that the guy didn't die just now. He's really tenacious, but he has no chance of winning 2-on-1. Just as Hideyoshi was thinking about it, the horns that should have died moved. The black line on his body quickly wrapped around the two of them. Although the corners couldn't keep up with Hideyoshi's speed, but seeing the relationship between the two, he knew that Hideyoshi would definitely give his life to protect the two tails. Sure enough, when he saw that the corners were all aimed at the teak man, Hideyoshi did not dodge or evade, standing and was entangled with the teak man. Chapter 88-Plan with Soil. Sanyu's scythe took the opportunity to directly scratch the left arm of the teak man, but Hideyoshi's blood was not obtained. The defensive power of ninjutsu plus iron block is not so easy to be broken by a sickle. Feijuan came out of the woods, looking very embarrassed. His entire shoulders were about to fall off, blood soaked half of his clothes, but his voice was extremely crazy. Ha ha ha, bastards, now I will make you pay the price. Lord Evil God is above. I'm about to start the ceremony. He stretched out his tongue and licked the blood of the teak man on the scythe. The blood flowed into his body, and then drew a circle and triangle formation on the ground with his blood, and then stood in the center of the formation. His body began to turn dark, and appeared a white bone pattern emerges on the body. Xianju also stood up from the ground. One of his hearts was destroyed. He just fell to the ground on purpose, waiting for Feijuan to come back. Otherwise, 2-on-1, all of his hearts will soon be destroyed. Now that Feijuan has obtained blood, the two have regained the advantage. Seeing that Feijuanzhao, who had been mortally wounded in front of him, was acting like no one else, both Teak and Hideyoshi flashed a dignified look in their eyes. The Sen organization during this time, he did not synchronize the information of Xiao. If Hideyoshi cooperates with the two-tailed teak people under the premise of being familiar with the information, he will never lose to the undead duo, but unfortunately there is no such thing in life. Feijuan took out the jet black spear from the left side of his clothes. This was the weapon he usually used to injure himself when he cursed. It stabbed directly like his left leg. Blood hole. Hideyoshi hurriedly supported the teak man who almost fell, and said in horror, how could this happen? Even though the guy was self-mutilating, but the wound was on the wooden man's body, what kind of ninjutsu is this? The cult of the evil gods is too mysterious in the ninja world, and has hardly appeared. Hideyoshi is not a ninja who is good at wit, so he panicked for a while. Feijuan had a perverted smile on his face. It's so comfortable. Ah. This voice made Hideyoshi want to go over and unscrew the opponent's head on the spot, but it seemed that the opponent's injury would be reflected on the teak man, and he did not dare to do it easily. Seeing that his lover was worried, the teak man forced a smile. "Gee, I'm fine. Don't worry, be careful of them." Feijuan interrupted the two of them. "If it's all right, then I'm going to stab me. Enjoy the pain of death with me, bastard, ha 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 ha." He raised the pitch-black spear and wanted to stab it again. Hideyoshi heard this. His eyes were blood-red, and he roared, "If you dare to hurt her, no matter if you escape to the ends of the earth, I swear I will cut you to pieces." He, it's too early to say big things. The two of us will not die. If you don't want your lover to be killed by us now, just listen to our words. Xianju retracted his grievances and stood beside Feijuan. He had just learned about Hideyoshi's speed. To be honest, even if it was a one-on-one fight, Zhao would have a hard time defeating the opponent, so he could only use Feijuan's ability. Hearing this, Hideyoshi forced himself to calm down and asked, "What do you want?" "Take her," said Xianju, pointing at the teak man. Hideyoshi refused directly and without hesitation. "This is impossible, unless you can kill me. Otherwise, don't think about it. Although I don't know what the other party's purpose is, it must be impossible for such a big fanfare to drink tea." Hideyoshi knows that the teak man is the thing of the two-tailed people, so he can also guess the purpose of Haiden and others. "Then don't blame me for being rude." After speaking, the corners of his eyes flashed a bit of anger, and he directly ripped off Feijuan's right arm. This arm was about to fall off by Hideyoshi's beating. Naturally, he couldn't help but pull the corner. Feijuan said in pain, "What? Who asked you to pull my arm? I can handle it myself." "Ah." The teak man covered her right arm, and her body also suffered the same amount of damage. The entire right arm was torn off, a lot of blood was lost, and her face was pale. Hideyoshi couldn't control his emotions for a moment. "Damn." With a sharp piercing sound, Hideyoshi appeared in front of Kakato. Although he couldn't hit Feijuan, he could hit the corner, and the damage from hitting him would not be reflected on the teak man. Boom! A big hole appeared again not far away. Hideyoshi was holding his neck with one hand, and while pressing his body, he turned his head and threatened, "Release your ninjutsu, or I will kill him 100 times. See if he's really immortal." Saying that, the arm flashed an electric light, and chakra was attached to his body. Kakato is also a ruthless man, wrapping the black thread of resentment around Hideyoshi's body, and the only 3 remaining masks emerge from behind and aim at Hideyoshi, with a posture that he and Hideyoshi will perish at any time. Cough cough, then try it. I have lived for an unknown number of years without dying. I have already experienced it, cough cough. Seeing that Kakato's mouth was stubborn, Hideyoshi increased the strength in his hands, and Kakato began to have difficulty breathing. Feijuan saw that the corners were all caught, but he didn't do it the first time, when the two sides were just stuck. At this time, one was wearing a swirl-shaped orange mask, a red cloud suit of shao tissue, a black one-piece bodysuit, and 3 protective gears on the shoulders twice. "I heard, Ju, report that you were in trouble. I thought it was just a small matter. Now, it seems that you have really met someone who is not easy." Obito appeared in front of everyone with a somewhat surprised tone. When he was already looking for Xian to organize some news, Ju suddenly said that the immortal duo had fallen into a stalemate with others, so he planned to come and take a look. On the ground, there are scorched marks and large pits everywhere, and there are slowly blue smoke. Obito saw Hideyoshi, who was very talented in fighting, and had some other thoughts in his heart. Hideyoshi and Hideyoshi had already seen Obito in advance, so they knew it was their own, but Hideyoshi's heart sank, and the situation was getting worse and worse for him. But Obito didn't do it directly. How could such a good combat power be wasted? So he talked to Hideyoshi about the conditions, and asked Hideyoshi to do one thing for him to release the teak man. I don't know what it was, but in the end, Hideyoshi turned around and left here in one step, and reached an agreement with Obito. Wooden man, wait for me. Standing in the distance, Hideyoshi's eyes were firm, and he turned and flew in the direction of Konoha. Strictly speaking, the task of capturing the second tail, The Xiao organization has been completed, but the outsider golem is still under the control of Feng Yao, so the extraction of the tail beast cannot be carried out immediately. Feijuan lay on the ground to perform the ritual, and every time he completed this technique, he had to lie on the ground for 30 minutes and not get up, otherwise he would be disrespectful to the evil god. Kakato chatted with Obito. Do you think that guy can do it? Why put forward such conditions? Aren't we trying to catch tailed beasts? It doesn't matter, it's just to use him to deepen the hatred between the two countries. We still have to extract the tailed beasts. But we can't extract them for the time being, so we can take a while. I'm not lying to him. Jiaodu laughed gloomily. You are really insidious, but what I didn't do back then, I don't know if this guy can do it. Chapter 89 The New Residents of the Sen Organization. Yinyan Village. Feng Yao first walked around the base with Terumi Mei, and also introduced new members to others. Orochimaru's laboratory is holding a piece of intercolumn culture taken from the outsider golem and putting it in a container for research. With a large number of intercolumn cell samples, Orochimaru has a deeper understanding of the intercolumn cells. Level of awareness. And at the top of all the experimental items of Orochimaru, there is a reincarnation eye in a large container of green liquid. Orochimaru really seems to have offered it up, and also set up a seal enchantment. Boom, boom, boom. There was a knock on the door, making the otherwise quiet laboratory a little more discordant. Huh, Orochimaru frowned, and said with some displeasure, didn't you say, don't bother me with my experiments if there's nothing to do? Terumi Mei outside the door looked at Feng Yao who couldn't even knock on the door, and burst out laughing. Successfully lost face in front of his own hands. Orochimaru, it's me, open the door, I have something to tell you. Feng Yao touched his nose in embarrassment. I once told Orochimaru that it might take more than a month for him to go, and the result was completed in about a week. It is said that Orochimaru has been buried in the laboratory for this period of time, so I can't blame him. Yao Jun. Orochimaru shook his body, quickly put down the container in his hand, and ran to open the door quickly. I opened the laboratory. I saw Feng Yao Orochimaru and said excitedly, you came back so soon, I just want to tell you about my new discovery. Ah, who is this? The predecessor of Wuyin Village, Shuiying, is now a member of my immortal organization. You will arrange her residence later. Oh, that's it. Orochimaru's eyes flashed with surprise, but Feng Yao went out for a few days and came back with a shadow. After briefly introducing the two of them to each other, they entered Orochimaru's laboratory together. Feng Yao said straight to the point, I am going to organize a new station for Xian. Yinyan Village is still too ostentatious, and it is easy to be discovered by major forces. In Feng Yao's impression, Yinyan Village was also destroyed after the death of Orochimaru. He originally planned to move to the Land of Water, but now he has a better choice. The system rewarded this time as a city, literally, a city that can float in the sky, but in fact, there are not too many buildings, they all need to be built by themselves, the area is not large, about half a wood in the area of Yi Village is around. The first goal of coming back this time is to relocate the entire organization. When Orochimaru heard that Feng Yao had a city that could float, he couldn't help but be moved. Fortunately, he was used to the surprise brought by Feng Yao, and then thought about the pros and cons. Orochimaru's eyes lit up. If that's the case, then it would be great. After all, what we have now is very precious. If we expose it a little bit, I am afraid it will arouse the covetousness of the 5 major countries. If we can set up a barrier in the air, if so, almost no one can break into our stronghold. Quote. Although Terumi Mei listened attentively by the side, she was very suspicious. Just a little bit of exposure can make the 5 major countries covet. What are you kidding, thinking that the 5 major countries are all scumbags who haven't seen the world? Why is this little man's subordinates doing this? Madness. This is not to say that Orochimaru is bragging. The thoroughly researched intercolumnar cells, the Eye of Reincarnation, the 100% transplantable spell, the outsider golem, and all the forbidden ninjutsu techniques in Konoha village are swept away. These are very valuable strategic resources. As long as a certain country obtains them, the strength of shinobi village will increase exponentially. Next, Feng Yao also chatted with Orochimaru about the selection of the location of the floating city. Now this floating city is like a mini sand map, stored in Feng Yao's mind. In the end, the location was determined on the sea area near the country of Vortex, which occupied the terrain even more. The country of Vortex was destroyed, and nothing would threaten the immortal organization. But before relocating the base, Feng Yao still has two things to do. One is to recall Tsunade who was out of control, and the other is to find Hideyoshi who went to the Land of Thunder and gather all the members of the Sen organization. The secondary task is to collect various eyes and enhance their own strength, such as Itachi, Shisui, Sasuke. These people are all very powerful in Kaleidoscope, and they need to find opportunities to get them. As for the task of the system, put it on hold for the time being. It is not so easy for the 5 major countries to discuss peace together. That's it, let everyone know about this matter. The time to evacuate is temporarily waiting for my notification. You can find a way to buy some construction materials for future construction. Feng Yao smiled calmly. As you wish, Yaojun. Afterwards, Feng Yao also chatted with Orochimaru for a while about the future development and goals of the Sen organization. After arranging people to find Hideyoshi's whereabouts, Feng Yao left with Terumi Mei. Walking in the dark tunnel, the faint green firelight shines on Feng Yao's face. The only downside of Orochimaru's stronghold is that it is too gloomy, and 80% of ordinary people will think that this is some kind of evil organization. Terumi Mei followed Feng Yao, and because she was very close, she was somewhat influenced by her mind and body, and it was easy to have a good impression on Feng Yao unconsciously. I said, little man. After thinking for a long time, Terumi Mei continued to use this title. She wondered, did you not shy away from me just now? I just joined your organization, I know now. Organizing so many secrets is not afraid that I have any other ideas. Feng Yao turned around. Those blue and deep pupils seemed to be sucking people in. Terumi Mei was stared at, her face was a little hot, and she unconsciously looked away. Then a heroic laughter came from my ears. Even if you have it, so what, as long as you are willing to do it, because no matter what you do, I have the confidence and ability to smash the obstacles in front of me. Everything. Hearing Feng Yao's voice, Terumi Mei was stunned, her body relaxed a lot, and the last thought in her heart was completely dispelled. It seems that my previous thoughts were too naive. Let me witness, you can walk how far. After arranging Terumi Mei properly, Feng Yao opened the Yikuan Hirazaka, and prepared to go to Konoha village non-stop. At this time, the atmosphere in Konoha village was very tense. The 20 squads sent out this time have already fought against Union village in the land of Tang and Tien. The damage was serious. All 7 teams were annihilated, and the rest were damaged. Only 3 teams remained full. Lord Jiraiya has already repelled Yun Yin's 4th attack on the front line. Kakashi quietly listened to the reports of the members of the Anbu department. He is now different from the past. He is the 6th Hokage who shoulders great responsibilities. At this moment of Konoha's life and death, he must concentrate on it. We have already said goodbye to the intimacy of heaven, and this time Union's military strength is far beyond Konoha's imagination. Fortunately, Jiraiya and Tsunade were still in Konoha village. One retreated from the enemy on the battlefield, and the other rescued people from the rear. This minimized Konoha village's losses. Otherwise, I was afraid that Yun Yin had already hit Konoha's door. When Kakashi was about to give an order, suddenly, there was a loud rumbling sound in the ear. During the war, people's nerves were always very sensitive, and everyone quickly came out of the house. I saw the ground cracked, and countless pieces of house debris were sucked into the air, eventually forming a huge meteorite. Earth blast. Feng Yao stood on the meteorite, folded his hands, and when he came to Konoha, he was about to call out Tsunade, so he chose to use the most direct method. He stood on a high place and shouted down, "Tsunade! You should be very clear about my purpose. If you don't come out, I will smash this meteorite into Konoha village." What is this? Sorry. Chapter 90_Feng Force Shocks. The scene in front of him was beyond everyone's expectations. At first, everyone thought it was an attack arranged by Yunyan, but only when they heard the sound from the sky did they know the whole story. Everyone's eyes were red and bloodshot, mixed with boundless anger. This guy actually took the village. Many people were injured, and there were. My family. Be sure to kill him and remove the evil for the ninja world. But what they didn't know was that if Feng Yao really had a heart, these people were not injured, but dead. Some of the ninjas were not idle either, quickly evacuated the surrounding crowd, and evacuated all ordinary people from the range of the meteorite. They couldn't help Feng Yao, and could only wait for the arrival of some Shang-nin and Hokage adults. Tsunade was originally in charge of healing the wounded at the medical hospital, so he couldn't ignore such a big movement outside. Feng Yao actually came here. It seems that, Xiao, still lost. The situation is not good. No one in the village can stop him. Tsunade showed a worried expression and quickly went to the location of the meteorite. As for the news of Xian and Xiao, she informed the senior management of Konoha after she came back, including the information she had obtained. But at that time, there was no time to inquire about the news of Yuyan village, because what was more important was the war launched by the Kingdom of Thunder against the Kingdom of Fire, so at Tsunade's suggestion, Kakashi decided to use Xian and Xiao. The threat posed by this organization sent a letter to Union to discuss peace talks. Informed that if the three kingdoms consume national strength, they may be exploited by these two terrorist organizations, but unfortunately failed, Hokage did not change his mind. After all, there is no basis for it, and the words in the letter are too exaggerated. What more than a dozen, shadow-level combat power, cells between columns and the like. How could the Kingdom of Thunder miss such a good opportunity? What if the so-called two organizations are nothing but Konoha's plan to delay troops, so the war is still going on? Cursed, damn it, Jirai is not here at this time. Otherwise, at least he has the strength to fight. What she was afraid of still happened, that is, people from Xian, or Xiao, took the opportunity to attack Konoha at this moment. In the short-term relationship in the past, she knew that Feng Yao really didn't say anything to his subordinates, but that he was completely driven by interests, and he did everything he could, and never did things he was not sure about. In order to save Junmalu, he used other gods to control himself, and he made trouble in Yuyan village for the sake of reincarnation. If she didn't have to make such a big move to catch herself, unfortunately she didn't know that Feng Yao's flying thunder god was disabled, so she couldn't feel where Tsunade was at all, so she used this method. Standing on the meteorite, looking at the Konoha ninja in chaos off the field, Feng Yao fell into contemplation in his heart. The purpose of making such a big move this time is to try to use force to deter the two powers from fighting. During the war between the great powers, a terrorist organization with unknown stance suddenly appeared. As long as Union spies can pass on what they saw today to Union village, then due to the threat of other forces such as Xian, it may be temporary truce. After that, there will be two possibilities. First, the villages will unite to attack the Xian organization, just like the original siege of Xiao. 2. Unwilling to trust and unite with each other amid suspicion, which led to the villages not daring to act rashly. But no matter which of the two is, Feng Yao can accept it, because if the two countries continue to fight, the Fourth Ninja War will eventually break out in advance, so that his mission will be in vain. He asked in his mind, "System, what if I directly use force to deter the 5 countries and force a truce?" The result was directly rejected by the system on the spot. No, using weapons to force others into submission, the order maintained by violence is not true peace at all. Feng Yao rolled his eyes. He is not the protagonist Naruto, and he can't rely on his mouth to make the 5 countries understand each other. Since this method doesn't work, Feng Yao is going to try to manipulate the 5 countries secretly. Now we can't let the country of fire and the country of thunder continue to fight, because the system has obvious requirements for the national strength of all parties. He wanted to find a way to ensure the balance between the 5 major countries, so that the immortal organization appeared in the ninja world, and the other major countries did not dare to act rashly, just like Uchiha Madara. At this moment, Tsunade has arrived near the meteorite of the earth-blasting star, and seeing the injured villagers all over the ground, everyone's face is full of fear, anxiety and fear. This scene also makes it difficult for her to restrain her emotions. She raised her head and said angrily, "Feng Yao, you are a ninja in vain, and you actually do this to ordinary villagers. Such viciousness is simply the scum of the ninja world. You should kill it." Although Feng Yao's blow was very moving, in fact, there were not many casualties, because Konoha was already very weak now, and Feng Yao didn't want to strike, otherwise the mission would not be completed. Tsunade, although the situation in Konoha is very dangerous this time, it is also the best opportunity for the major countries to see the strength of the immortal organization. All countries will not allow this force to develop recklessly, even if they will fight today. She was mentally prepared to die here. This point coincides with Feng Yao, who also want to force the 5 major countries to temporarily stop the war. Feng Yao laughed wildly. "I am afraid that the ordinary people I killed this time are not even 1,000th of the people your countries killed in the war. Why don't you speak up for them? If you really say this, then you the 5 major countries are the targets for everyone to gain and punish." Quote. Tsunade's tone was stagnant. Of course, she knew that during the war, the people of small countries would inevitably be hurt, but no one really cared about those. Yes, many small countries have no right to speak at all. In other words, do you still hate the 5 great nations? What is the purpose of your immortal organization this time? Tsunade simply pulled the topic away, trying to guide Feng Yao to target the 5 great nations, which is why Feng Yao has always been waiting for a word. You are wrong about one thing. It is our immortal organization, and you are also a member of the organization. As for hating the 5 major countries, maybe, your 5 major countries should not exist in the first place. Feng Yao deliberately gave an ambiguous answer, but that's enough. Then jumped off the meteorite and said solemnly, "As for the purpose, of course, it is to capture you, a traitor of the immortal organization, but I am willing to give you a chance. After all, our first meeting was not pleasant." After speaking, his eyes flashed, and light blue chakra appeared on his body, and formed a skeleton shape, and chakra completely covered his body. Susanoo. Then he manipulated the light blue bone arm to grab directly towards Tsunade, and Feng Yao only opened the first form of Susanoo, which was Madara's Susa. Tsunade looked serious, and once again untied the yin seal on the head, and the whole body was covered with curse marks. The art of creation and regeneration. This ninjutsu can be said to be a trick that has been eaten all over the world. Tsunade is from beginning to end. Fortunately, this ninjutsu can be comprehensive in terms of treatment, support, and attack. Tsunade raised her arm and grabbed Susaku nose palm, but due to the size of her body, she could only barely hold Suzukura's 2 fingers with both hands. She took a few steps back to stabilize her body, and she took a deep breath. He pressed his left hand against Shuzuanengu's arm, and then slammed his right hand forward. Cursed angrily, "Don't underestimate Konoha's ninja. Underestimate me, Sanin, you bastard." Boom. Chapter 91-Tsunade vs Feng Yao. Shuzuokuohu's arm fell with a punch, and he could clearly see the countless cracks that were punched out, and they spread over his entire body. Feng Yao snorted coldly, the chakra erupted, the bones of the arm stopped shattering, and the foundation of the skeleton was covered with meridians and flesh and blood, wrapped in a coat-like chakra. Susanoo in this state was the most balanced in terms of balance. Madara and Sasuke often used this form before gaining the power of the 6 paths. Although what Tsunade said was very imposing, she really couldn't compare with Orochimaru and Jiraiya in terms of Sanin's combat power, but she also had something she was good at, and that was medical treatment, which was also what Feng Yao took a fancy to. At this time, Shizuo was several times harder than Nengu's just now. Sure enough, Tsunade was unable to directly destroy it for a while. The person next to him was about to help. Feng Yao glanced at it and said disdainfully, "You guys should go first. Let's deal with the meteorites in the sky." After talking about Feng Yao's control of the meteorite synthesized by the Earth Blast Star, it will fall directly, but its size and power are definitely not as good as that of the Heavenly Obstruction Star. The Earth Blast Star is more similar to the sealing technique, which sucks people into the meteorite and crushes the enemy. However, Feng Yao changed his usage. After all, if you use Tianji Zhengxing to smash it, no one can hold it now, but it is enough for Konoha's ninjas to work. Konoha's Jonin is torn between Meteor and Tsunade. "You guys deal with the meteorites first, and I'll stop Feng Yao." Tsunade immediately made a choice for everyone, fighting Feng Yao alone. Everyone gritted their teeth and said, "Master Tsunade, please hold on, we stopped the meteorite from coming to help you immediately." After speaking, the ninja quickly dispersed. "You also overestimate yourself, Tsunade." Feng Yao sneered, and a light blue weapon appeared in the other hand of Shizuo Nengu. Tsunade's body was already grabbed by Suzuoku Nohu, unable to dodge it, so he could only raise his right hand to take the sword. Click. The sword body is cut to the bone, and her arm will be cut off by the slightest difference, but Tsunade's current Baihao technique allows her to ignore this kind of damage. "It hurts my feet." Tsunade focused the strength of his body on his feet, smashed the entire ground on which Feng Yao was standing, and the unbalanced Suzukura swayed, and Tsunade took the opportunity to jump out and come to a safe area. Almost in a blink of an eye, the wound on the arm began to emit white smoke, which was quickly repaired and then healed. Feng Yao saw this scene and said with a smile, "Tsunade, don't forget, I gave you part of your power." Tsunade snorted inwardly. What Feng Yao is talking about here is of course the intercolumnar cells. Tsunade transplanted a part of the intercolumnar cells through Feng Yao when she was in the Immortal organization. I have to thank Feng Yao. Experts fight against each other, and always only fight for the front line. In the short battle with Feng Yao, Tsunade has actually been guarding against Feng Yao's Flying Thunder God and Time-Space Ninjutsu. Even if the opponent suddenly moves in front of him, Tsunade is confident that he can resist. But the technique used by the other party was different from what he was familiar with before. The ability to create meteorites and the hard skeletons formed by chakra were all completely unfamiliar ninjutsu. This guy, has he been retaining his strength before? Tsunade's eyes were complicated, and the opponent's strength refreshed her understanding time and time again. She really didn't know how to defeat Feng Yao. "It's almost over, I'm not in the mood to spend it with you." Feng Yao stretched out his right hand after speaking, "Vientian Tianian." A suction shrouded Tsunade within the range. Even if Tsunade noticed that he had attached the chakra to the soles of his feet in time, he was still a step slower, and the whole body flew towards Tsunade. Tsunade was a little flustered at first, but then his eyes flashed with determination. "If that's the case, I'll take the opportunity to get close. With my skill, it's very difficult for him to kill me directly." Tsunade adjusted his body in the air, ready to fight back. "I thought it would be attacked by Feng Yao with a weapon that must be used as a power, but in fact it flew directly towards Feng Yao." Although Tsunade had doubts about this scene, he didn't care about that much. He directly filled up with the strange force. He used the suction of Vientian Heavenly Enchantment to enhance his own strength. The wind hidden inside. Success. Tsunade was overjoyed when he saw the shattering of Suzuo, and was about to make up for the knife. The next moment Feng Yao created a black rod from his body, which directly pierced Tsunade who was close at hand. The black stick passed through Tsunade's right shoulder, but this kind of small injury was obviously not noticed by Tsunade. HMPH, just because of this kind of injury, I think. Ah! Suddenly, the chakra in the body began to become disordered. Tsunade fell to the ground in pain, and the technique of Baihao began to subside. "Tsunade-sama, what's wrong with you?" Damn, what despicable tactics did that bastard use? The people around saw Tsunade suddenly fell to the ground in pain, and they didn't know what happened. The black stick was loaded with the power of the outsider of the Eye of Reincarnation, which was enough to block the enemy's acupoints that produced chakra, so that the enemy could not use the chakra to launch various activities smoothly. Kind of ninjutsu. Feng Yao's black stick is comparable to Obito and others. This is the defeat caused by the lack of intelligence. If she could know the effect of the black stick, she would not choose to break the beard as an energy, but use strength to jump. Open. Tsunade, who couldn't resist now, was easily knocked unconscious by Feng Yao and put it into Yungchang Hirazaka. This is the second time that Tsunade has been planted in Feng Yao's hands. Unlike last time, Feng Yao was completely crushed this time. Pressed victory. The huge meteorite formed by the exploding stars in the sky has been stopped. The Chu Dao family relied on the multiplication technique, and several clansmen who swelled several times together resisted the meteorite. The 6th generation Hokage Kakashi also came with the support of Sasuke and others, and just witnessed the scene where Tsunade was knocked unconscious and put into the door of space. Feng Yao, it's actually you. This was the third head-to-head confrontation between Feng Yao and Kakashi, and the two sides faced each other. Now the identities of the two sides are different. Feng Yao is the leader of the Immortal, and Kakashi is the Hokage of Konoha. No one spoke for a while, but Kakashi finally spoke first. Feng Yao, I, Konoha, no longer regard you as a traitor, and kept the promise of the day, but you not only secretly stole Konoha's forbidden technique scroll. Even the Tsunade princess who captured my Konoha. Attacking my Konoha for the second time today, killing Danzo was considered to be helping Konoha. What are you trying to do? Quote. At the end of the day, Kakashi's aura had reached its peak, and he even took off his blindfold to reveal his own writing wheel. Feng Yao didn't refute Kakashi's accusation, but he didn't have any guilt. People would have desires, and this point would be infinitely magnified after gaining strength. His goal from the beginning was very clear. To reach the pinnacle of the ninja world, as long as it is beneficial to him, no matter what kind of difficulties he will be criticized, Feng Yao doesn't care at all, because history has always been determined by the winners. Written. At this moment, a shadow covered most of Feng Yao's body, and he seemed so calm when he was alone. It's just that Orochimaru's voice suddenly came from the door of space next to him. Yao-kun, I have controlled Tsunade, we are waiting for you to come back. Feng Yao smiled slightly, turned his head and said, I still have some things to deal with, I will come soon. Yes, Feng Yao has his own companions and forces, he is not alone, there is a large group of people with their own ideals waiting for his leadership. To fight for himself and for the Immortal organization. Chapter 92_Sasuke's Shaker. Feng Yao will first look at Sasuke. He wants to capture Sasuke's eyes, and use his kaleidoscope cells to help himself open the two pupil techniques of Amaterasu and Kaguto life. He stretched out his arm again, and said silently in his heart, Vientian Tianian. The suction force appeared again, and Sasuke's body immediately flew over like Feng Yao. Everyone was shocked and wanted to hold Sasuke, but Sasuke himself took the lead in reacting, pulling out a long knife and inserting it into the ground, slowing down the speed of being dragged. The ground and the knife, the friction rattled, and Kakashi and others on the side immediately helped. Divine might. The left eye focused on Feng Yao's head, and the space began to distort. Sasuke was not idle either. He turned over and stepped on the handle of the knife, making a mark on his hands, condensing chakra in his throat. Fire escape how fireball. The current Sasuke has also made extraordinary progress following Kakashi's cultivation, and he is not bewitched by Orochimaru. He is obviously not so focused on revenge. His life has undergone major changes because of the appearance of Feng Yao, and the huge fireball is wrapped in heat waves. Come over, and the space where Feng Yao is located is also distorted. Feng Yao changed his gesture immediately after seeing it, and said softly, Shen Luo Tianzheng. Gravity suddenly turned into a strong repulsion, and the fireball bounced back directly. As for Kakashi's divine power, Feng Yao had both eyes, and the distortion caused by it was restored in a moment. However, a shadow appeared from the dark and connected with Feng Yao. It was the shadow of Nara Shikahisa who took the opportunity to catch Feng Yao, and it was just a trick. Well done, Shikaku. Kakashi was very excited to see the tactical success. Quick, he's too strong. I can't stand it. Nara Shikahisa's body kept shaking, obviously controlling Feng Yao's actions made him very stressed. Feng Yao frowned. Is it Konoha's pig, deer and butterfly? Then where is the other one? Then a voice came from the smoke. Ninja, the art of turning your heart. Feng Yao's body suddenly froze for a moment. The smoke dissipated. It was Hiei Yamanaka, the last one of the pig deer butterfly. He kept the appearance of a knot in his hand, and then his head hung down weakly. Then, Feng Yao said hurriedly, hurry up, I won't last long. He and Sasuke glanced at each other, and the two began to form seals at the same time. Sasuke also revealed the writing wheel eye, which looked like Ergo Jade. They concentrated the chakra of the thunder attribute in their palms. Rachel. Chidori. The two dragged the thunder and lightning at an extremely fast speed, and wanted to strike through Feng Yao's body. Just when the two were within 5 meters of Feng Yao, everyone thought they had succeeded, but Yamanaka Hiei suddenly woke up and immediately stood up and shouted anxiously, he is not under my control. My technique failed. Don't approach him. Go away. Feng Yao's mind and body can be immune to almost all illusions and mental control. Not only did Yamanaka Hiei fail, but he was also mentally shaken. He didn't return to his body immediately. Instead, Feng Yao used this to make Sasuke take the initiative to approach him. Kakashi was shocked, but he couldn't stop. The figure of a lion, with 2 horns on its head, a goatee, and a snow-white hair of Baizi sprang from Feng Yao's arm, scattered with thunder and lightning, like Sasuke tearing it apart. Bite. The purpose was to get Sasuke's eyes. Kakashi wanted to help, but how could Feng Yao let him do so? Suzuoku can throw out his huge arm, knock Kakashi out, and put on a mask. Spilled blood. Sasuke was held under his claws by Baizi and could not move. At this moment, Sasuke saw that Kakashi was injured, and the 2 Guyu in his eyes changed towards the state of 3 Guyu. Feng Yao took a look. It seems that since following Kakashi, Sasuke's relationship with him has improved a lot. Kakashi has always had some preference for Sasuke. The two of them are very similar. In the original book, Sasuke looks like Kakashi after blackening, but Kakashi finally came out. This time he and Naruto also brought Sasuke walked out. However, Sengoyu, who was awakened on the spot, could not change the situation of the battle. Feng Yao walked over and stretched out his right hand to capture Sasuke's eyes. Host, please wait. The voice of the system made Feng Yao's hand stop in midair. He wondered, what's wrong? The general system still rarely speaks when it is fighting by itself, unless there is an emergency. What I want to say is that Sasuke hasn't turned on the kaleidoscope yet. If you capture it now, it can't be regarded as a kaleidoscope's cells, nor can you get the ability of his eyes. Quote. Feng Yao patted his forehead directly, and secretly asked how he had forgotten about it. Host, I think you simply want to take revenge on Duoyu, and you just want to catch people's eyes, so you don't think about this problem at all. Cough cough, how could it be? Then if that's the case, I can only keep it for him first. Thinking of this, Feng Yao stopped his hand. He came to take Sasuke's eyes this time, and he also thought of taking revenge on Duoyu, but he subconsciously ignored the fact that Sasuke had not opened his eyes yet. It's amazing, but now Sasuke's eyes are ordinary, and his physique won't help evolve. Kakashi and Sasuke breathed a sigh of relief when they saw Feng Yao stop. It was not difficult to see that Feng Yao's purpose was to write round eyes, but they stopped halfway through, which made them puzzled. Now Kakashi doesn't dare to do anything at will. Sasuke is now in Feng Yao's hands. If he shoots at will, it may hurt Sasuke. Nara Shikahisa and Yamanaka Kaiichi on the side also surrounded Feng Yao. Although they knew that their methods had no effect on Feng Yao, as Konoha's ninjas, they would never back down at this moment. Feng Yao, who has achieved his goal, has lost interest. There is nothing to stay here. Feng Yao takes back by Z. Sasuke gets rid of the control and immediately jumps away to keep a distance. You are so far from your brother, Sasuke. Hearing this name, Sasuke still couldn't control his emotions. The veins on his neck burst, and he said hoarsely, "Don't mention that man's name in front of me." Feng Yao sneered secretly in his heart, but in his mouth he said, "What can I do when I mentioned you? Tell you, I have seen him before. The gap between you and him is so huge, I am afraid that you will never be able to take revenge in your life." "Ah," Kakashi said anxiously. "Don't trust him, Sasuke, have you forgotten there are us? We will help you, trust." "I know," Sasuke interrupted Kakashi directly. He picked up the knife and pointed at Feng Yao. "Tell you, I will stand in front of that man one day and ask him to repent for what he did. You wait, watch it." Looking at Sasuke, who was completely different from the past, Kakashi also showed a relieved smile. This child has finally changed. "I'm not good at mouth evasion. I didn't expect to have such a big influence on Sasuke in the village. HMPH, forget it, Itachi should come to persecute him anyway." Feng Yao, whose plan failed, was not worried, "And Itachi, this god assists you, you just need to wait." All the goals have been completed, and Feng Yao was ready to retreat, but at this moment, he saw a familiar figure. The only member of the Sen organization that has not yet been found is Hideyoshi, who is proficient in ninjutsu and can use the limit of blood. Chapter 93-Assassinate the 6th Hokage. Hideyoshi is standing in a house not far from here at the moment, although Feng Yao has not seen it for a long time, but Feng Yao still recognizes it at a glance, but he has some doubts in his heart. It's strange, doesn't it mean that he went to the Land of Thunder? It saved me a lot of effort to find him. But the next moment Hideyoshi disappeared in place. This is the 6 tiles, passed on to him by Feng Yao. The roof tiles of the house were directly smashed, and a thunderous sound came. Whoosh! Kakashi felt a cold killing intent coming from his back, and everyone, including Feng Yao, was surprised. Because Hideyoshi's target is the 6th Hokage, Hitaki Kakashi. 6th slash of thunder. Concentrating lay done on the knife, instantly slashing out 6 slashes, aiming the 6 slashes at the same position, is a powerful ninjutsu. At this speed, Kakashi can barely move his body, and although he can't dodge, at least he won't be fatally injured. Round grave border prison. Just when Kakashi thought that he was not dead or half crippled, Hideyoshi's knife seemed to cut something, and it was all blocked by something like a wall of air. Clang! What's the matter? Hideyoshi also widened his eyes. In fact, Feng Yao released the shadow of a wheel tomb to block Hideyoshi's slash. Now Konoha can't lose Hokage, and why Hideyoshi came to attack Hokage also made Feng Yao puzzled. Without a hit, Hideyoshi retreated decisively, holding the knife in front of him, ready to strike again at any time. Who are you? Is the guardian forehead Yun Yin's rebellion? Lord Hokage, please step back, this is probably Yun Yin sent to assassinate you. Kakashi immediately stood in front of Kakashi to protect him. While Kakashi glanced at Feng Yao, the technique just now was definitely not used by any Konoha ninja. The only possibility on the field was Feng Yao. Kakashi frowning, why did he save me? But now that Kakashi can't think about it, Hideyoshi has already started again. Lan Yun Huan Yao. Countless thunderballs exploded around, and dazzling light erupted, and everyone's vision was blocked. No, Hokage-sama, please be careful. Just when Shikuku was about to use his body to protect Kakashi, a voice full of youthful blood came. Oh hit! Noba Gang Force Whirlwind. Hideyoshi was kicked out, the strong light dissipated, and a ninja with thick eyebrows, a resolute appearance, and cut watermelon hair appeared, showing his big white teeth. Konoha's arrogant blue beast Crazy Akai-san. Kakashi, am I late? Kakashi took a deep breath and said with a smile, HMPH, it's just right, Akai. I didn't expect to encounter such a thing as soon as I came back. Sure enough, some people were restless after the outbreak of the war. As soon as the words fell, the two figures used the Xianju technique to stand beside a kai together. It was Sarutobi Asma and Yuhi Hong. As soon as they came down from the front line, they saw the huge meteorite in Konoha village and came quickly. Hideyoshi's face was as gloomy as water, but he also knew that the possibility that he wanted to kill the sixth Hokage was too low, so he could only throw a smoke bomb and took the opportunity to leave. He didn't look at Feng Yao from beginning to end, like a stranger, but knowing Hideyoshi's location, Feng Yao naturally wouldn't let him disappear while playing. He turned his head and said to everyone in Konoha, "I still have something to do today, so I won't waste it with you. I hope you can bring me some fun next time." After he finished speaking, he walked into the space of Yongchang Hirazaka, and everyone who wanted to chase was stopped by Kakashi. "Don't be impulsive, we are not his opponents, let's treat the wounded, tell this matter." To Jiraiya-sama. At the end, Kakashi felt deeply helpless. He didn't know how to tell Jiraiya with this news. Tsunade-sama finally came back, but within a few days he fell into the claws of the immortal again. After Hideyoshi escaped, he ran to a hillside before stopping. He was panting heavily, the afterglow of the setting sun reflected in his eyes, and he couldn't help feeling a little sad. "Such a beautiful sunset, I really want to watch it with you, wooden man. If I hadn't been blocked by something just now, I would have succeeded already, those eyes-hungry guys." Hideyoshi snorted coldly in his heart, took his eyes back, and glanced around him after a circle. After confirming that no one was following, he sat under the tree to rest. At this time, a black door of space was opened, and Feng Yao walked out alone. "I stopped you just now. I haven't seen you for a long time. You have become a lot stronger. I am curious why you wanted to assassinate the sixth Hokage." "Hideyoshi?" Feng Yao asked. Hideyoshi saw Feng Yao's eyes widened at first, and then relaxed, and he said calmly, "It's really you, Boss Feng Yao. You have changed too much, the ninjutsu is completely different, I didn't dare to recognize it, and even change the mask." Feng Yao snorted coldly, his icy blue eyes shone brightly. He didn't want to hear the news that the other party had taken refuge in Yunyan. "What the hell is going on? I promised someone, and he asked me to assassinate the sixth Hokage." Hideyoshi seemed to be a little unspeakable. He just told Feng Yao the news one-sided. "Who told you to do this, or did you join Union Village?" Feng Yao's eyes sank, and the scene suddenly became tense. Hideyoshi shouted, "No, I didn't do that. I just fell in love with a girl in Union Village, but she was in danger, and the other party asked me to kill the sixth Hokage to let her go." Here Hideyoshi is like a deflated ball again. How can he look like he used to be in high spirits? "You fell in love with the girl in Union Village," Feng Yao subconsciously exclaimed. "Hideyoshi's action is too fast, but I haven't seen him for half a year, and he has even found a wife, but love makes people crazy, and he dares to promise to assassinate the sixth Hokage." Hideyoshi couldn't help but smile bitterly, and continued, "Yes, and she is not an ordinary girl, she is the second-tailed person Zuli of Union Village. After I left the Land of Water, I thought about breaking into Union Village to have a look. But she found out, the two of us had a fight, and I lost to her in the end." Quote. It is indeed possible with Hideyoshi's character. He is keen on all kinds of exciting adventures, this time maybe the so-called lost the battle and won the life. "She didn't treat me like this betrayal, but let me go. During that time, I went to the place where she practiced to accompany her. Gradually, I fell in love with her. I just wanted to be by her side, but before suddenly some guys in strange costumes appeared in the sky. They injured the wooden man and threatened me. The last masked man and I made an agreement. As long as they can kill the sixth Hokage, they will let the wooden man go." Under Hideyoshi's sharp eyebrows, his eyes revealed a deep murderous intent. "I really want to kill those guys, but their ninjutsu is too weird, I can only listen to their conditions." Feng Yao's thoughts turned in his mind. 80% of the people who caught her way were members of the Shao organization, and the masked man was talking about Obito. If Hideyoshi's assassination was successful, I'm afraid Konoha would definitely think it was Union's conspiracy, and Hideyoshi it was Yunyin's betrayal and forbearance. How could this matter have something to do with Yunyin? Then the war would definitely continue. Immediately replied, Hideyoshi, you can let go of the assassination of Hokage. I will help you with the teak man. I am sure to save her. Hokage can't die now. Chapter 94 _ The Wave of Ninja. Hideyoshi couldn't help being shocked when he heard it, and he said excitedly, really? Boss Fengyao, I beg you, you must save her, please. Don't worry, you get up first. I'll take you back to Yinyin village first. Don't worry about saving people, you are my subordinate, of course I won't let you be threatened. Fengyao sighed and sent Hideyoshi helped up. Fortunately, he captured the outsider golem, and the teak man would not die immediately by sucking up the power of the tailed beast. Then open Wonquan Hirazaka, and take Hideyoshi to echo the hidden village together. At this time, a Venus flytrap not far away made a low voice. I didn't expect that Yunyin's rebellion was also his subordinate. I have a lot of information, so I have to inform Obito. After speaking, he dived into the ground, and in an instant, the scenery changed and he came to Obito's side. Obito, who was wearing a mask, listened to the news from Ju. It turns out that he is hiding in the country of Tien. I didn't expect that Union Rebellion and Forbearance is actually a member of the Immortal organization. Well, it doesn't matter, get ready. Golem. At the end of the speech, Obito's tone contained a trace of brutality and tyranny. Nodding as it should, all plans could not be implemented without the outsider golem, and the information they got. The person Zuli of the one-tailed guardian crane is also in the Immortal organization, so he must go. It's fine if the recapture of the outsider golem is successful this time, but if it fails, I don't know how long it will take for my mother's resurrection. It is necessary to get in touch with Fengyao as soon as possible. Ju thought in secret that he existed to revive Kagaya, and it didn't matter who came to revive. No one in the ninja world knows its true identity. If the piece of Obito is not easy to use, it can only be discarded. Heiju has a hunch that if he can use Fengyao, it will be easier than the piece of Madara. Heiju is best at bewitching heart. But what he didn't know was that Fengyao already knew of his existence. One day later, the fact that Konoha village was attacked again quickly spread all over the continent. Except for the remoteness of the water country, all countries have already known that there is a terrorist organization called Xian in the ninja world. Tsunade, one of the three ninjas, walked away, and said that there is no need for the existence of the 5 major countries. Country of Thunder. The irritable Reikage smashed the table with a punch, and roared, "What bastard organization? Konoha's way is too old-fashioned, do you think I will believe it?" And 10 teams are being sent to the front line. Quote, Lord Reikage, it's better to pay attention. This organization has not only carried out terrorist attacks many times, but also researched the control of intercolumn cells and various forbidden techniques based on Konoha's intelligence. We need to guard against it. If it is our village. She glanced at the table that was smashed by Reikage, and said solemnly. I snorted. Then let them try. I will break their heads one by one. Also, find the news of the teak man as soon as possible. Country of Wind. Konoha is really in constant disasters. This Fengyao is a big trouble. Xian, organization. I think Gaara is also there. Luo Sha flipped through the information in his hand. He put on a puppet arm because of the broken hand. This is not difficult for Sandian village. Then, what should we do? Konoha is our current ally. Do we need help? Maji was beside Luo Sha waiting for his order. Luo Sha sneered constantly. What help? We Xiaoyin are too busy to take care of ourselves. The alliance is nothing but a paper treaty, but since this kind of organization is not from our country, it is a threat. Kill it as soon as possible to avoid future troubles. Country of Earth. A large group of old people sat around a table. Unlike other countries, the rulers and ministers of the land were very united, respected each other, and got along very harmoniously. A tall, rather happy, with a big nose in the middle of his face, a very short old man said, "There is another battle situation from Konoha, and Jirai, one of the 3 ninjas on the front line, also repelled Yunyin. It's just that Konoha village was attacked. Have you heard of the Xian organization? It's an organization that has just emerged recently. It shouldn't be a big deal, but the collapse of the front line of Union is surprising news. It's not uncommon to see immortal Jiraiya, one of the 3 ninjas, and Tsunade, a medical expert. If it wasn't for Konoha's plans for the village of Grass Hidden, we would have already attacked Konoha while Union and Konoha were fighting." Onogi ignored everyone's words, but said slowly, "Only Jiraiya is left. Konoha's Tsunade has been captured. I heard that this organization has been gathering all kinds of talents in ninjutsu, and it seems to the 5 countries. I don't like it. This kind of guy." The people next to him were shocked when they heard it, and re-examined the organization. Yinyin Village. Orochimaru, Gaara, and Do came to a door together, and Gaara knocked on the door respectfully. Boom, boom. Feng Yao's voice came from inside. "Come in when you come, I have something to tell you." The 3 walked into the room one after another. Feng Yao was lying on the black leather seat, and Hideyoshi was standing beside him. Feng Yao already knew all the situation, and Feng Yao and Hideyoshi also synchronized many recent intelligence and actions of the Xian organization. Others were stunned when they saw a stranger beside Feng Yao, and Feng Yao asked them to introduce each other. "I didn't expect you to know Yaojun before me, and you joined the organization at the same time as Zaibuzhan. Yaojun's vision is really good." Orochimaru looked up and down Hideyoshi, feeling the extraordinariness of the other party. Hideyoshi smiled bitterly and said, "I've been out of the organization for a while. I didn't expect it to grow so fast. If I could have known the guy's abilities earlier in the organization, maybe the wooden man wouldn't have." A little remorse. "Don't think like that. If you were in the organization, you might not be able to meet her. They won't hurt the Teak people for the time being. You are all my trusted subordinates. I will tell you the purpose of the Shao organization to collect tailed beasts." Quote. After hearing this, everyone was a little puzzled. The purpose of collecting tailed beasts? Isn't tailed beast the so-called weapon of a great power? What other functions are there? Feng Yao finally made up his mind to tell them that Feng Yao felt that it was not a good thing to know too much before, and the strength of Xian was not enough at that time. So Feng Yao started from the legendary 6 Paths Immortal, talked about the origin of ninjutsu, the origin of the 9-tailed beast, told the story that the 6 Paths Immortal was the first 10-tailed person Zuli, and informed them that the Shao organization the purpose is to collect all the 9-tailed beasts, revive the 10-tailed, and reproduce the power of the 6-Path Immortal to realize the Eye of the Moon project. After Feng Yao finished speaking, there was a dead silence. At this moment, time seems to stand still. Everyone's expressions were still a little dull, and they didn't respond. They were like sculptures, silent. Orochimaru opened his mouth wide and could put the next fist. Even Gaara lost her demeanor, until Feng Yao coughed twice, and everyone woke up like an electric shock. I am facing," Orochimaru yelled. Immediately burst into tears with excitement. "This is simply incredible, the secret of the ninja world, the origin of ninjutsu, Yaojun. If this is the case, then we can also collect the power of the 9-tailed beasts." Chapter 95 Re-entry into the Shinwei space. Feng Yao smiled bitterly in his heart. Even if I get the power of the 6-Path Immortals, I can't use it flexibly, just like Wei Yukong has chakra and can't ninjutsu. I guess he is a little worse than her. So he said, "Don't worry for the time being, if the time is right, I will also collect tailed beasts, but not now." "My God, how can you collect all this information? Feng Yao-sama, you seem to be living in that era." Tu also couldn't hide his excitement. He also had a pursuit, that is to collect all the ninjutsu and ninjutsu in the world. Intelligence, knowing his identity, Feng Yao's words greatly broadened his horizons. However, as an intelligence officer's keen perception, he understands that this information cannot be known just by inquiring, and only by personal experience can be known so thoroughly. He looked at Feng Yao with a hint of doubt. Feng Yao secretly thought that something was wrong. Could it be that he could not hide his identity as a transmigrator? Just when Feng Yao was about to confess. But at this time, Orochimaru laughed loudly. I'm afraid you don't know about this, but Yaojun actually has an ninjutsu that can know the past and future. Feng Yao looked confused and turned to look at Orochimaru. Huh. I knew this secret as early as when I was persuaded to join. Well. So all the changes in this world are under Yaojun's control. Huh. Feng Yao was immediately puzzled after hearing this. He didn't expect Orochimaru to be so good at brain supplementation. And when everyone heard it, they all looked at Feng Yao with fiery eyes, and their eyes were full of admiration. If they said no at this time, it was not a big oolong. Feng Yao smiled embarrassedly and said bravely, it's almost like this, ahem, Orochimaru, you are very sharp. So, the current, Shao, organization can't actually do anything to the second tail, because now the shell of the 10 tails is in our hands, right? Gaara recovered and calmly analyzed the situation. Feng Yao smiled and said, yes, but it can't be delayed. If you force the other party and kill Ren Zuli directly, then the tailed beast will still be resurrected, but it will take some time to catch up. It's easier. Hideyoshi finally let go of his heart at this moment. Since the teak man was arrested, he has not dared to rest for a minute, and hurried to Konoha village. Even after he came here, he was still anxious. Hearing Feng Yao said so much, finally at ease. Then what are we going to do next? Find someone from Shao. Feng Yao touched his right eye and said, you can find them at any time, it just depends on whether the other party wants to talk to us. The Shinwei space is connected to Obito. In order to prevent Feng Yao from using the Shinwei space, Obito left a lot of people in it. Feng Yao didn't want to leak information, so it was rarely used. Now, for Hideyoshi, I can only talk to the other party. He brought Orochimaru and Hideyoshi, and then his right eye swirled and absorbed the three of them. The space is still the same as before, but there are scattered Baiju around, and when he sees Feng Yao, he rushed over and opened his mouth. Feng Yao is here, Tilda. It's finally here, we've been waiting for you for a long time. For these Baiju, Feng Yao didn't even look at them, he directly unfolded the skeleton, and the skeleton formed by the huge chakra shrouded Feng Yao's body. He slammed down with one arm, and all turned into a pool of white meat mud. Feng Yao slaughtered Baiju in Shinwei space to his heart's content. After a while, Obito was finally brought in. He came alone. Originally, he was gathering the members of Shao to attack Yinyan village. As a result, news came from Baiju, saying that Baiju was placed in the Shinwei space. Was killed. Obito understood that it was definitely Feng Yao's doing, so he wanted to see what the other party was going to do. Hey, Yinyan village is gone, the more daring you are, Feng Yao. Obito's face was gloomy like water. Of course, this was referring to Feng Yao's psychic walking the whole golem and attacking Konoha. Don't gossip, you should know him. Feng Yao didn't intend to give Obito any good looks, he went straight to the topic, pointed to Hideyoshi next to him, and continued, I know you caught the teak man, why don't you come here? Let's talk about how you're willing to let her go. A hint of mockery flashed in Obito's eyes, then you should hand over the outsider golem. If so, I will return the teak man to you, but will you be willing? Needless to say, the preciousness of the outsider golem, the 10-tailed shell is invincible, and the plan without the outsider golem is completely impossible to carry out. He feels that Feng Yao will definitely not hand over the golem for a subordinate partner. I agree, when will the exchange start? What? Not to mention Obito, even Orochimaru was surprised. After a period of research, Orochimaru naturally understood how precious this golem is. In addition to the secret of the 10 tails just told by Feng Yao, no one thinks that Feng Yao will hand over golems, including Hideyoshi. At this moment, Hideyoshi's heart trembled violently and tears filled his eyes. He half knelt on the ground. Thank you, Lord Feng Yao, I will repay your kindness by being a cow and a horse for the rest of my life. Feng Yao nodded slightly and helped Hideyoshi up. The outsider golem is indeed precious, but it is useless to Feng Yao. He can't become a human pillar. At that time, the golem was only used for research on Orochimaru, and now Orochimaru has also completed the research. Then the golem is only a temptation for the outside world. Throw it back to Obito, it's no big deal, and it can be exchanged for a Wiranzuli, why not do it? Obito's expression turned serious. You are really a strange guy. If it is true, I will agree to your terms and exchange it in the country of Tien. I will bring the two-tailed man Zuli over there. It seems that you have also collected a lot of information. Hearing Obito revealing his hiding place, Feng Yao's eyes flashed, but he was not too surprised, but he was determined to move the organization as soon as possible. Obito can find out that the same is true for other countries. Xian is now only for major countries, not the kind of charity organization that will help grandma cross the road. Whoosh. The vortex of divine power emerged, and Obito had already left the space. Let's go too, get ready, I'm afraid Xiao will not hand over the teak man so easily. Although the conditions have been negotiated with Obito, the cautious Feng Yao made everyone prepare for a fierce battle, and Feng Yao's right eye flashed. The vortex of divine power also unfolded, and everyone returned to Yinyan village. You guys are back, Master Feng Yao, how are you talking? Do and Gaara asked immediately. When they learned that Feng Yao was going to return the outsider golem to Xiao, to exchange hostages, everyone's eyes were filled with shock, and the eyes they looked at Feng Yao were different. Do even said from the side, don't you have to think about it? Lord Feng Yao. Hearing this, Hideyoshi's body visibly trembled. Feng Yao shook his head. You don't need to talk about this kind of thing next time. If you are in deep danger, I agree to make the same choice. Golems are just foreign objects after all, so Orochimaru is not used for taking a little bit of the column. Cells. Yaojun is really brave, but I have thoroughly researched the intercolumnar cells cultivated under the outsider golem, so it's totally unnecessary. Orochimaru smiled sideways. Chapter 96-Tsunade surrenders. After confirming that everyone had no opinions, they were all dispatched by Feng Yao to inform their respective teams of their next actions. In the next step, Feng Yao has another important thing, and that is the question about Tsunade. He came to the prison in Yinyan village alone, it was still so gloomy, and the faint ghost fire reflected on Feng Yao's face. Tsunade's situation is not very good at the moment. He has a black stick with Feng Yao on his body, which hinders chakra, and Orochimaru is worried, and even binds Tsunade's hands. Now Tsunade is like an ordinary person. This time Yo wants to convince Tsunade. Moreover, he must have the help of Tsunade to achieve peace in the ninja world in the future. When he opened the cell door, Tsunade looked up and saw that it was Feng Yao, and then sneered, "Why, are you looking at how embarrassed I am?" Feng Yao snorted coldly and asked back, "Do I look like such a boring man? I have something to talk to you about." "I have nothing to talk to you about, a guy like you who enjoys killing others. You just kill me." Tsunade simply closed his eyes to avoid looking at Feng Yao. "Really, even if I'm going to help Konoha stop the war, you're not interested in talking to me. That's fine." Feng Yao got up and was about to leave, but Tsunade opened his eyes, hesitated for a while, and said, "You really have such a good heart, what is your purpose? I don't believe you will do things that are not beneficial to you." "Indeed, let's be honest, in addition to stopping the war between Konoha and Union, I am also going to support you as the 7th Hokage. There is only one requirement. After becoming Hokage, you must obey the orders of Sen. Under certain circumstances, you can rest assured that what I ask Konoha to do will never harm Konoha's interests, and if there is, you can refuse." Quote. You want to manipulate Konoha village. It's impossible, let alone the 6th Hokage who just took office. Even if I become Hokage, I can't obey the orders of other organizations. Tsunade still rejected Feng Yao's proposal. The key is that she doesn't believe in Feng Yao, this terrorist who has attacked Konoha and Yuyan village in succession, if he cooperates easily with the other party, I am afraid that even the scum will not be left. Feng Yao shrugged indifferently. Well, Konoha can't stand it anyway. Let me tell you, I have been to Kaoyan village, guess what I found? Tsunade did not respond. Feng Yao revealed with a mysterious smile. He continued. Actually, Yinian village has already colluded with Kusakan to attack Konoha from the rear. Don't show that expression, it happened to be destroyed by me. They won't attack for a while. Now Kusakan the village is also under my control, returning to the immortal organization to do things, agreeing to my request. Konoha will be fine, I will take care of Yinian village. Tsunade was a little stunned by the news, and felt a little shaken in his heart. I didn't expect, even the land of the land, then why should I believe you? When saying this, Feng Yao showed a smile that the plan was successful, which means that Tsunade has agreed to his request, but there is no guarantee that what Feng Yao said is guaranteed, which is much easier. Feng Yao's voice was solemn. It's very simple, to show my sincerity, I will return all Konoha's ninjutsu and forbidden books in full, but this matter needs to be done in secret, and I will not restrict your freedom too much. Of course, the premise is how do you feel if you will not betray the organization and sell intelligence. Quote. Tsunade lowered her head, her heart is also doing the last struggle, now Konoha without her will only be more dangerous. If you don't agree, I am afraid that Konoha village will be destroyed sooner or later. I promise you. After saying this, Tsunade seemed to have lost all her strength and fainted directly. The inner struggle of making this decision made her physically and mentally exhausted. Seeing this scene, Feng Yao immediately pulled out the black stick on Tsunade's body, tore off the chains on his hands and feet, and went to the medical room with Tsunade in his arms. He finally persuaded Tsunade that if he died directly, then funny. When he came to the medical room, Feng Yao kicked open the door, and the inside pocket was being checked by Duo Yuya. He was startled when he heard the sound of kicking the door, and when he saw it was Feng Yao, he felt relieved and pushed his glasses. Master Feng Yao, I can't stand your tossing like this, you want to. Tu and Taiyu also naturally saw Tsunade holding Feng Yao's hand. They knew that Feng Yao had brought Tsunade back from Konoha village, but now that there is no other god's control, it should be difficult for Tsunade to do anything. Immortals, do things. Seeing their doubts, Feng Yao first put Tsunade on the medical bed and explained. Don't worry, she is no longer betrayal, please treat her and don't let anything happen to her. Tsunade's clothes were damaged a lot because of the previous battle, and it was inevitable that some spring light would be exposed. Beside him, also saw something and blushed. Isn't this woman doing it on purpose? Does Lord Feng Yao like that kind of thing? Lord seems to be handsome again. Then he turned his attention to Feng Yao again. During this time, Duo Yu had been recovering from his injuries, and Feng Yao had basically left soon after he came back, so he had never been able to see each other, and this time he finally got what he wanted. Feeling Tuyuya's gaze, Feng Yao turned his head to look, and Tuyuya immediately lowered his eyes and dared not look directly. Feng Yao laughed in his heart. I haven't seen you for a while, this girl seems to be even more shy. Lord Feng Yao, I've seen it. Tsunade has nothing to do with it, but chakra is a little disordered and he's tired. Just rest here for a few days. Well, I'm sorry to trouble you. By the way, how is Tuyuya's situation? Is she still injured here with you? Thinking that Duo Yu was still checking here, Feng Yao was a little worried if there were any sequelae. After all, Itachi's illusion attack was really terrible. Hearing Feng Yao asking about his injury, Duo Yu also said quickly, No, Master Feng Yao, my injury is completely healed, I can continue to work for you, please don't worry about it. I'm worried. She was afraid that Feng Yao would refuse to fight with her because of her injury, which was more painful than hurting her. Don't worry, Master Feng Yao, Duo Yu is fine, but I'm going to have an eye transplant for her recently, so I specially checked it today. Hearing this, Feng Yao nodded slightly, looked at Tuyuya's closed right eye and felt a little remorse, stretched out his right hand and gently stroked Tuyuya's face, secretly deciding that Tuyuya was also transplanting a writing wheel eye. But at this moment, Taiyu also suddenly covered his heart and fell to the ground as if he had lost his strength, with a very painful expression on his face. The chest. Ah, it hurts. Feng Yao panicked, and hurriedly helped Duo Yu, who was lying on the ground, to rush to the ground and said, "What's the matter? Didn't you say she's all right? Why is this happening?" "This, Lord Feng Yao, don't worry, put her up and I'll help her take a look." Kabuto was also very puzzled. It stands to reason that Tuyuya's injury has already healed, and it shouldn't be on the heart. So she quickly took out various instruments and started to connect. Duo Yuya's breathing was still a little short at the moment, and Feng Yao also tried to inject chakra into her body, but it still had no great effect. Chapter 97 _ City established. In order not to disturb Duo Yuya's treatment, Feng Yao took the initiative to sit at the door of the medical room, feeling a little depressed. After a while, Orochimaru came here, and was surprised to see Feng Yao parked at the door. "Why is Yaojun sitting outside the door? I was going to find you." "It's alright, Duo Yu also seems to have an old injury. Do is treating her, do you have anything to do with me?" Feng Yao's reply was a little absent-minded, and his eyes always glanced at the medical room unconsciously. It was Yaojun who said that he had to collect building materials. "I have already completed all of them. I think Yaojun can put the floating city in the designated location first. I will arrange for people to carry out the construction first, so that we will not be too hasty to evacuate later." Orochimaru's proposal is very good, and now we must evacuate the country of Tien as soon as possible and build a floating city. It's just that Duo Yu didn't know what was going on right now. When he was about to let Orochimaru wait first, he came out of his pocket, and his expression was a little weird. "Lord Feng Yao, Duo Yu is all right now, don't worry, I may know a little about her situation, but I'm not quite sure." "What's the matter? Can't even diagnose you in time." Feng Yao frowned. There were not many diseases that could give due to a headache. "Also please feel free to follow Mr. Orochimaru to do errands. I need a little time. I promise you will come back and see a healthy Duo Yu." Pushing his glasses, he said confidently. It was rare to see Kao swearing like this. Feng Yao thought about it, and finally nodded. The other party would not joke about Tuyuya's life, and now he could only trust him. "I believe in your strength and take care of Yuya." Then open, Yikuan Hirazaka, next to it, and together with Orochimaru, went to the sea area near the country of Vortex, and the surrounding scenery changed. The blue sea is like a huge blue gem, and the cool and humid sea breeze with the smell of the sea is blowing every part of the body. Feng Yao used Vientiantianian to let the two float in the sky together. Orochimaru was also very satisfied with the environment here. He turned his head and said, "Yaojun, let's be right here. The location is very good, by the way. Are you trying to channel the floating city out?" Although he already knew Feng Yao's plan, he didn't say where Feng Yao was in this city. If he wanted to psychic out, he might have to spend a lot of chakra. "System, just help me put it in this position." "Okay, the floating city is about to be launched, please prepare the host." The sand map of the floating city in my mind disappeared, and a huge shadow enveloped Feng Yao and the two. A huge city appeared several thousand meters above the sky, and there were some strange power equipment below, which should be able to control the floating city to float in the air. The essential. Feng Yao manipulated gravity to bring Orochimaru into the floating city. Most of the places were still empty. Except for a large lake, some rocks, and a few small metal houses in the center, there was nothing in the whole city. The metal house is the central place where you can control the floating city. "It's amazing, Yaojun, such a big place, and it's still in the air, this is the perfect base." Orochimaru raised his hands and praised the place. In the original book, Orochimaru is a traitor and forbearance. In order to avoid the investigation of various forces, the 3 caves of the Cunning Rabbit have his laboratory in many places. Although the safety is improved, it is also very troublesome to transfer frequently. A safe place can not only it gives members of the organization a sense of belonging, and it also increases their motivation. "Well, I will maintain the space gate of Wangquan Hirazaka, here first. You can bring the subordinates of Yinyan village to the construction. It must be carried out as soon as possible, and they will not be allowed to leave after that. The location of the organization must be kept strictly confidential. Although things are in a hurry, Feng Yao still wants to emphasize this point. Intelligence work is the top priority. Orochimaru said coldly. Don't worry, Yaojun. I promise that these people will not leak the news of the organization, and then I will find a way to set up an illusion enchantment next to this city and hide it. What do you think? What, Tilda? Well, I believe in your ability to do things, Orochimaru. After finishing speaking, Feng Yao stretched out his right hand, opened the door of space, and then sat cross-legged, while refining chakra, while maintaining Yongchang Hirazaka. Orochimaru didn't dare to neglect, and hurriedly walked into the door, and then there were people from Yinyan and construction workers who were caught carrying various materials and walked in. Everyone's first reaction was to close their mouths in surprise, but under the deterrence of Orochimaru, he quickly put into work. Medical room. Duoyu also covered her heart with a worried look. She just didn't know why her heart was beating so fast that she even had difficulty breathing. Worrying in my heart. No way, is there something wrong with my heart? If so, can I still follow Lord Feng Yao? Tu looked at the instrument seriously, and seemed to confirm it repeatedly. After a long time, he stood up, pushed on his glasses, and sat beside Tayuya with a very serious expression. I probably already understand the situation, Tayuya. Don't panic, just listen to me. Hearing this, Taiyu also hurriedly sat down and asked tremblingly, yes. Is there something wrong with the heart? Tell me, I'm mentally prepared. His voice was very strange. This is lovesickness. Clam. The medical room was instantly silent except for the beating sound of the instruments. Duoyu was also stunned for a long time, and asked knowingly, is this the name of some kind of heart disease? No, the literal meaning is pure lovesickness, the heartbeat of the person you like, that's all. Duoyu also explained patiently. What are you talking about? Do you say that because I like Lord Feng Yao, my heart beats to the point of fainting? Such a humiliating behavior made Duoyu also pick up the quilt and cover her head. She didn't know how to explain it to Feng Yao for a while. Ahem, it's the first time I've encountered this kind of disease, so I'm a little shaken, but it's true based on repeated observations. Let's sort it out. You usually think about whether Lord Feng Yao's heart rate is often faster. Duoyu also covered the quilt and nodded, and continued. Then, I haven't seen you for a long time. Today, because Lord Feng Yao touched your face, your heart began to thump and thump to the point of pain, right? Quilt continued to nod, and Do decisively took out a pen and paper to write the medical report. That's right. Wait for me. Hearing the voice of the pocket record, Duoyu also jumped out and snatched the pen and paper. Her cheeks were slightly red. This matter. Since I'm fine. I don't need it. Trouble Lord Feng Yao. It was too shameful for Tayuya to worry about the person he liked because of his heartbeat, so even if he died, Feng Yao wouldn't know it. Do deliberately teased. How can I do it? This is something that Feng Yao-sama explained. If I want to find out the situation before he comes back, I have to report it truthfully tilde. I'll say it myself. Don't worry about it, Dr. Do. After saying that, he ran out in a hurry. Chapter 98 _ The Bewitchment of Black. Floating City. Most of the building materials have been moved to the floating city, and all the people are busy. Some are grinding stones, some are building foundations, and the ninjas cooperate with their own ninjutsu. Although it is not as good as Yamato's Xianju family technique, it is progressing rapidly. Feng Yao does not have too many requirements for the initial construction, and it can be expanded later. First of all, it is necessary to build the headquarters of the Immortal organization. The place that is usually used for decision-making and gathering is also the office space that Feng Yao gave to himself. Secondly, there are the medical hospital in Do and the laboratory of Da Shiwan. These two can be said to be very important. It is not enough to have one less. The medical hospital can not only help heal the wounded, but also provide some cell sample data to the laboratory. Finally, there are the venues that are usually used to practice ninjutsu and the facilities for cultivating newcomers, as well as the living issues of the immortal organization personnel. For example, like Ling Yu, who was once found in Kaoyuan village, this kind of person with special blood and abilities can become a reserve member of the immortal organization to carry out actions. If an organization has not been injected with fresh blood, then wait for it only decay. Looking at the busy workers in front of him, Feng Yao is still very satisfied with the progress of Orochimaru's work, and it should be completed in less than a week. Orochimaru, then I'll leave it to you here. I have to go back first, and I will pick you up before the Shao organization comes. Feng Yao patted the dust on his body and stood up to leave. Orochimaru smiled and said, "Don't worry, Yaojun, you can go back." Wangquan Hirazaka was opened again, and Feng Yao returned to the medical room. In the huge place, only Tsunade was left lying on the medical bed to inject nutrient solution. Seeing that Tu and Duoyu were not in Feng Yao, they frowned, but they quickly stretched out, which at least meant that Duoyu was okay, otherwise, Tu would not let her leave. Just when Feng Yao was about to go out to find someone, an uninvited guest emerged from the shadows. It is a person wrapped in half black and half white plant leaves. No, he should be called Heiju, the biggest conspirator in Hokage who has lived for thousands of years. A low and hoarse voice came. "Hello, Feng Yao, it should be the first time we meet." Feng Yao was a little surprised, and then looked at Ju who was hiding in the shadow with interest, but he didn't plan to reveal his identity. The less he knew about his secret enemy, the better, but Feng Yao really didn't understand that Heiju was looking for him. Own purpose. So he wondered, "It's the first time we met, but looking at your clothes, it's from the Shao organization. Aren't you going to exchange golems and hostages with us right now? Is it because you want to do it ahead of time?" "Humph, that's not it. I'm here to ask you one thing. I know that you attacked Konoha and took Tsunade, and I also know that Konoha killed your parents, and everything you did was just to get revenge. Right, but even if you do too much, it's useless. I ask you, do you want to resurrect them again?" Heiju said at the end. His tone was high. Hearing Heiju's intentions, Feng Yao's thoughts went fast. Heiju came to me at this time, seduced me for revenge, and told me about my parents. Do you want me to carry out the Eye of the Moon project? I now see from the eyes of outsiders. I hate this world, and I hate Konoha village, so I attacked Konoha several times, and Hei wants me to be his pawn. A passive analysis guessed Heiju's intentions. Feng Yao smiled slightly, which enabled Baizi to listen to other people's voices. When a voice came, he wanted to see what Heiju was thinking. Why doesn't this guy react at all? Am I right? It shouldn't be. Bastard, hurry up and say what you want. Hearing Feng Yao's face full of black lines, could it be that the conspirator who has lived for thousands of years is this kind of broken standard? Shutting down Baizi's ability, Feng Yao pretended to sigh. I'm afraid there is no chance to achieve it. Even if I really want revenge, what does it have to do with you? Heiju smiled grimly. Of course it has something to do with it. Let me tell you one thing, why we want to collect tailed beasts so much, that's because. In the next words, Feng Yao directly chose to ignore it, because Heiju was making up a story, and he was just thinking about killing Heiju at this time, whether the benefits outweighed the disadvantages or the disadvantages outweighed the benefits. Although Heiju is a conspirator, no one actually knows his identity. Even if he dies, Obito will not terminate the plan. Instead, he feels that there is no supervision and it is more convenient to use his methods. I will always try to revive Keigai or Madara. Either of these two would go against my mission and cause me a lot of trouble. A short time, Feng Yao had already made a decision, and Heiju also said to the end, you can create a world with your parents, and it is not difficult to collect tailed beasts with your strength, as fast as 1 or 2 years. Then the great cause will be accomplished in 3 or 5 years. Quote. What you said are all true. Feng Yao looked very excited, and the other party felt that things were stable. Continuing to bewitched. Of course tilde now the outsider golems have one tail in your hands. We have 2 tails in our hands, and there are only 7-tailed beasts left. Okay, I decided to work with you on the Eye of the Moon plan. What should we do next? Feng Yao said, approaching Ju, as if to discuss the next plan with the other party. Ju also emerged from the ground, and the plan went smoothly. He explained patiently, the next step, of course, is to go to the outsiders first. Yantian Heaven. A suction force directly enveloped Ju's entire body. Feng Yao's right hand was raised towards him, and the strong suction force made him unable to enter the ground for a while. Must do what you can. When Ju collided with Feng Yao, a blue chakra covered Feng Yao's body and formed a skeleton, which quickly grew tendons and flesh, and slashed towards Ju with a sword in his hand. Ju seemed to be stunned, but there was no resistance at all, and the giant sword fell. Boom! The entire medical room was split in half, and the roof trembled slightly. This was underground. If Feng Yaoyijian accidentally split the base, everyone would be buried. Ju was directly cut in half, and looking at Ju, which was divided into 2 sections, Feng Yao walked over, feeling a little weird. Heiju is the product of Otsutsuki's will. Although his strength is extremely weak, his ability to escape is top-notch. In the end, Naruto sealed him on the Earth Blast Star. Would such a guy be killed directly by the sword of Suzuo? Feng Yao kicked Ju's body, the black and white body suddenly changed, the black part disappeared, and it became a white Ju. The art of disguise is put together. I also said that a guy who has lived for 1,000 years, how can he be so exaggerated in his heart? This disguise art can be said to be the strongest transformation art in the Naruto world, even the most familiar one. Neither a human nor a sentient ninja can identify it. Although it was a pity not to kill Heiju, it would be alright to keep him. Shao, Organization Headquarters. A Venus flytrap slowly opened. The negotiation with Feng Yao failed. That Baiju is dead. Fortunately, I have taken precautions against him. This person is difficult to control. Then what to do next? With Obito alone, I'm afraid that he is not Feng Yao's opponent at all, and he has to find a way to revive Ban. Chapter 99-2 Enemies. Feng Yao's Susanoo naturally also alerted the rest of the Xian organization. Someone raided. Who is so daring? The location is in the medical room. Could it be that Tsunade betrayed Master Feng Yao again? That woman. Everyone rushed towards the medical room. The medical room was full of smoke and dust, and various facilities and equipment had been chopped up. Do was the first to arrive at the scene. Looking at the messy medical room, he once thought he had gone wrong. But the instruments all over the floor and Tsunade lying on the hospital bed convinced him that this was his medical room. Master Feng Yao, this is... What's the situation? Did the people of Shao attack? Tsunade was apparently still lying quietly on the bed and didn't wake up, so the culprit should be Shiroju, who had been cut in half. This is also the first time Do has seen Baiju, but it is not difficult to guess the identity of the other party with the Shao organization clothes on him. Feng Yao touched his nose. Forget it, this guy is called Baiju, but it was actually me who moved the hand just now. Has Tuyuya's situation improved? Destroying Do's medical room, Feng Yao was also a little embarrassed, and simply opened the topic. Said that Cao arrived. Duo you also came here in an instant, and happened to hear the conversation just now, and a red cloud suddenly appeared on his face. Hurriedly explained. No, it's okay, Lord Feng Yao, I'm sick to my stomach. I'm worried about you. Right, Dr. Do. Seeing Duo you also cast a half-threatening look, he coughed twice, and said bravely, Ah, that's right, it's really nothing major, don't worry about it, Lord Feng Yao, I'll clean up this place. Bar. Seeing the two people playing a riddle in front of him, Feng Yao frowned. Would it be difficult to breathe because of an upset stomach? In order to find out, Izukuya ordered Baizi to turn on his abilities. What to do, Lord Feng Yao is asking me. I shouldn't lie to the Lord, but I fainted because my heartbeat was too fast. How should I explain it? My medical data. Feng Yao let out a faint sigh, and finally let go of the dangling heart, and the eyes that looked at Yuya became softer. Emotionally. Then I won't ask. If you feel uncomfortable, you must come and tell me. You should follow me during this time. Really? Is it really possible? I won't let you down this time, Lord Feng Yao. Duo Yu also heard that her eyes were flushed. She lost Zishui's eyes, and she was always blaming herself. Looking for a chance will make up for it. Do asked more pragmatically. Master Feng Yao, do you think I have to allocate funds from the Xian organization to rebuild this place? Feng Yao found a place where he could barely sit from the ruins and responded, don't worry, I'll go back and help you build a better one. We will have a new base in the future. Then I'll wait and see. In less than a while, Gara and the others all arrived here one after another, including Terumi Mei. Lord Feng Yao, we're late, are you all right? Gara, who heard the voice, put down everything in her hands and rushed over. Feng Yao shook his head and said, of course it's fine, but it's just some rats. It's about to exchange teak people with. Xiao, you still have to be cautious, I'm afraid they won't hand over people so easily. Heiju's sudden attack this time made Feng Yao more cautious, but the strength of Xian has also improved a lot compared to when he was in Yuyan village. Hideyoshi, Terumi Mei, Shiro, and Zabuzhan are all in place, and Feng Yao's strength has also increased several times. Just when Feng Yao was thinking about the next countermeasure, a red figure rushed over, slammed into Feng Yao's arms, entangled Feng Yao like an octopus, and greedily sucked the smell from his body. Lord Feng Yao, you're finally back, really, why don't you take someone with you when you go out? I go out every day to collect information, it's so boring. Shangrin rubbed her face against Feng Yao's chest while crying, showing an obsessed expression. Feng Yao, who was planning to scold, heard Shangrin's pitiful tone, and swallowed the words again. Gathering intelligence is indeed a hard and dangerous job. Shangrin, Lord Feng Yao only let you collect information because Lord Feng Yao values you. Saying this will make Lord very troubled, so let me go. Yuya has completely changed his personality now, like a fierce little lion. Anyway, I'm also collecting information outside. You haven't been lying down for so long, and you should talk to your savior like this. 1 yard is 1 yard, you let me loose. He pulled the incense sticks away, and the two pulled each other. Gara next to me spoke first, and the others followed suit. Don't be too rude, Lord Feng Yao is still here, so don't be too rude. Oh, the two of them are really happy friends. This little man is very feminine. He looks like two interesting children. Shangrin and Duo Yu also fought each other, but the two of them were different from the first meeting. Both of them recognized each other in their hearts, but they refused to admit defeat. Duo Yu is also grateful to Shangrin for saving his life, and Shangrin admires Duo Yu's strong perseverance when he was injured. If anyone sees Feng Yao's eyes now, they will surely find the yearning in his eyes. Feng Yao gently stretched out his hand and stopped in the air, as if there was an invisible piece of glass. Now is not the time to enjoy this warm time. Others can rest, but he can't. As long as the high-ranking person makes a mistake, the entire organization will fall apart. Just when Feng Yao lowered his hand weakly, Duo Yu, who felt something strange in Feng Yao, suddenly turned around and stared at Feng Yao quietly. Feng Yao, who was about to ask, "What's the matter?" suddenly brightened. Because Yuya stretched out his hand gently, Feng Yao hesitated for a while, grabbed the hand, Yuya's body trembled, and then firmly grasped Feng Yao. Just like this, Feng Yao's body was pulled into the immortal, organized in small circles. Master Feng Yao, you should also talk about Shangrin, it's too rude. Well, indeed, it's a little inappropriate to just jump on Lord Feng Yao. Master Feng Yao is so gentle, he should be reluctant to reprimand Shangrin. I'm happy to do it for you. Seeing this scene, Feng Yao is not restraining his emotions. Ha. Although surrounded by everyone's astonished eyes, Feng Yao still did not stop laughing, and after laughing until he was satisfied, he turned his head to face Shangren. It's really hard for you during this time. It's not your fault. The task is too boring. I will arrange a certain rest time for you in the future. If you have anything in the future, you should bring it up like today. Thank you, Master Feng Yao. In fact, completing the task is not so boring. I was just talking nonsense. Shangren stuck out her tongue and made a wrong expression. Terumi Mei, it happens that you are here. If you don't kill Shiro and Hideyoshi, you will be a team. You will lead them. If there is anything you don't understand, you can ask Kao or me. Terumi Mei bowed slightly to show her understanding. Tsunade on the side heard the noise around her, and slowly opened her eyes to wake up. Her eyes were a little complicated. I sighed in my heart, if the village could retain such talents back then, I'm afraid it would be my Konoha's golden age again. Chapter 100 _ meet again with Xiao. After half a day. Feng Yao has already brought Orochimaru back, and the two came to the hall where the outsider golem is located. You can see that there are many scratches on the golem, which were cut by Orochimaru in the experiment. Orochimaru looked at the golem up and down again, and said with a smile, if I had known in advance that this was the 10 tails, I would have been gentler. It would be a pity to destroy such a fetish. However, the corners of Feng Yao's mouth were slightly raised. You are wrong about this, we are going to give this to others now, of course, the more you destroy the better. But this thing can also be restored, so don't take it too seriously. Haha, that's what Yaojun said too. For Feng Yao's unique idea, Orochimaru is used to it. Feng Yao pondered for a moment, then suddenly turned his head and said, Orochimaru, you can call someone else to help move the golem, and calling you, the child of Kaoyan village. Orochimaru bent down to lead the order, and then the three of them worked together to move the outsider golem outside, and let the team in the pocket be in charge of guarding, taking shifts every half a day, and I don't know when the Xiao organization will come over. The rest must recharge their batteries to ensure the best state to face the enemy, and important things such as reincarnation eyes and intercolumn cells have been sent to the floating city. However, Konoha's ninjutsu has remained. These are what Feng Yao promised Tsunade to return to Konoha, but he has already ordered someone to completely copy the scroll, so even if he returns it, Feng Yao will not be missing here. Tension is brewing in the air. I don't know when, a drop of drizzle drifted down and fell on Do's face sitting on the golem. Feeling a little coolness, Do lowered his head slightly and said to the contactor, Master Feng Yao, Orochimaru my lord, the enemy is about to appear, and the number is unknown at this time. Then he jumped off the golem and patted Shuiyu, Chang'o, and Junmalu, and the four of them stared solemnly at the open space in front of them. The space began to twist and twist, the divine might vortex appeared next time, and a few people were thrown out. In addition to Obito and Oririn Zuli Teak, there are ghost sharks, and others have not appeared for the time being. The Teak man's face was pale and haggard, and his right arm was empty, which made him feel distressed, and Do also frowned. Obito has now put on a special white mask for battle, revealing two eyes, one kaleidoscope and the other an ordinary writing wheel. Obito didn't look at a few people at all, stared at the outsider golem and said, Feng Yaoren, well, it doesn't matter, as long as the outsider golem is there, let's start trading. You're really in a hurry, but no one can move around until Lord Feng Yao comes. There was already a hint of danger in the tone of the last pocket. Duo's strength has also improved tremendously. He is one of the immortal organizations who can use the wooden dung after successfully transplanting the intercolumnar cells. Together with the technique of reincarnation, his comprehensive strength has reached the shadow level. The ghost shark's eyes widened like a dead fish, and he laughed twice. What an arrogant guy, the guy who used ink last time was similar to you, he should be dead by now, right? You guys will soon too. With him. After speaking, the ghost shark actually launched an attack directly, holding the shark muscle in his right hand and slashing towards the pocket door. Shark muscle, chi-chi slash. The spikes on the shark's muscle pierced the bandage to reveal it, and it was repeatedly torn and moved. If it was touched, a large piece of flesh would be torn off. Bone Vein Dance of Tang Song. Junmalu stepped in front of the pocket, and used the blood continuation limit to grow dozens of bones in his body. He was able to withstand the impact of the shark muscle on the front. He was able to strike his opponent with high defense, and the bone spurs that came out scratched Ghost Shark's right hand. But Junmalu didn't take advantage of the situation to pursue him. He knew that ghost sharks were powerful, they could absorb chakra, and they belonged to the type that the stronger the enemy, the stronger it was, so random pursuit would be dangerous. The ghost shark, who hid at a safe distance, put his right hand to his mouth, licked his own blood, and praised, "I didn't expect that people who attack with bones really exist, people from the Bamboo Clan, I didn't expect that there are still people alive." The wound of the ghost shark quickly recovered as before, and the chakra of the shark muscle will help him recover from the injury quickly. Even if it is a fatal injury, it can also recover quickly. Xianju looked at the scene in front of her with greedy eyes. He had a wish in his life to collect all the ninja knives, and the shark muscle is definitely one of his favorite knives. He excitedly said, "Senior Ghost Shark, have a contest with me, I really want your shark muscle." "Ha ha ha, Xianju, you little brat, if you're not afraid of death, come up and try it." The two people said that they planned to take the next shot, and the muscles of Xianju's entire left arm bulged abnormally. Water Escape. The Art of Howling Water Arms. Xianju turned on the second spell, and the skin and temperament on her body changed dramatically. She jumped into the air and waved the giant knife, ready to start. The ghost shark was not afraid at all, grabbing the handle of the knife with both hands to cut Xianju in half. Shark Muscle. Slaying Slash. When the two were about to touch, a black door of space appeared, and a hand suddenly stretched out from the door, easily catching the slashes of Xianju and Shaker, and the two felt as if they were slashed on steel. Feng Yao walked out from the inside. As soon as he opened the door, he saw that the two were ready to start, and directly used the iron block to take their attack. He said coldly, "Are you all so impatient? I doubt your sincerity. Step back, Xianju, you are not his opponent." Xianju pursed her mouth a little unwillingly, but she still retreated. Along with Feng Yao were Orochimaru, Gaara, and Lingyu, the child of Gracian. Gaara is a little puzzled by this decision. Without bringing many people, at least it can be said that in order to preserve strength, Terumi Mei can be a trump card, but what is the purpose of bringing Lingyu, a preparatory member of the Immortal organization? Arrow still couldn't figure it out. It's just that Feng Yao and Orochimaru, who were asked, both showed treacherous smiles. Obito saw that the master was coming. He stepped forward, his eyes flashed. "You finally appeared. Don't worry, I am very sincere. As for the affairs of the subordinates, let them handle it themselves. HMPH, since that's the case, you should send the Teak Man first. And we will also send the outsider golem, and we will start the exchange together." But at this time, Obito shook his head. "No, the golem is difficult to take away directly. If you take hostages, what will you do directly? You must wait for us to channel the golem, and then I will hand over the person to you." Feng Yao's face turned gloomy when he heard it, and he said coldly, "Aren't you joking with me? Let you psychic go. How can I guarantee that you won't leave directly after getting an outsider golem?" Obito lowered his head and seemed to be thinking about something, and after a while he said, "It's okay to promise your conditions, but I want to plant a curse on Erwei's body. It won't be too complicated. After we exchange with each other, I will lift it. Drop the binding spell. What do you think?" Feng Yao was like a mirror in his heart, knowing that Obito didn't want to hand over Erwei at all, because he had just spied on the Teak Man's psychology through Baizi, and knew that the Teak Man was actually faked by someone else. "It's not as simple as I thought.